Yo, what is going on Twitch.tv/WBE? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive, bringing you guys World Battle Entertainment Season 1 draft right here, right now. Let me see some hype in this chat room right now. I know we have people from all across YouTube. We've got the aDrive army here and much more because we have 12 amazing coaches, man, and I am so excited to be kicking off this brand new draft league focused around entertainment, fun, collaboration between some of the best YouTubers in the scene. We've got some amazing coaches which I'll break down, but first and foremost, I have an amazing co-host joining me today. He's the coach of your Chicago Cubs, and his name is Galactic Elliot.
Hello guys, what is up? This is Galactic Elliot, and happy to be part of the WBE draft. Get some hype in the chat. I see you guys going ham, and let's get right into it.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast today, guys, and I encourage you to check out all the different coaches. We do have a fan document ready for you guys to rock! WBE. Keep in mind the commands only work once a minute, but you can check out the fan document. It's got all the coaches there in draft order with their YouTubes and their Twitters. Please go drop everyone a follow. Take a second here to go drop everyone a follow and a subscription on YouTube. I promise it will be worth your time. We're going to be jumping into our battles next week. First week of battles, the schedule's up there, and we're going to have the entire draft loaded up there as well. So bookmark that, save it to your bookmarks, so that way you have everything right in front of you guys, and that way you'll know what's going down for the league. This is an awesome, fun league we're going to be having, guys. I'm really excited about it, and thank you to everyone who's turning up today. Now, I do want to just be totally transparent. The draft has already taken place, but myself and Elliot are live commentating the draft. We're going to be breaking down all the picks that were taken and kind of explain the process and our thoughts about the picks, but it took us about 2 weeks to draft over the last couple weeks to get to this point, because obviously we do have 12 people on different time schedules. It can be a little bit tough, and of course, for anyone looking to watch the draft afterwards, if you miss a bit of it, this should be uploaded to my YouTube channel within 24 to 48 hours, so you should be good to go there. But let's take a look at some of the teams, Elliot. We've got a lot of awesome teams, a lot of amazing coaches that are going to be in WBE this season, the first ever season here, and I'll let you take it away, man. Let's talk about some of these awesome coaches we got, Elliot.
So, of course, yours truly, we got the Chicago Cubs, Galactic Elliot, and then we got the St. Louis Rampardos, coached by yours other truly, aDrive. Gonna be pretty awesome, head smashing everywhere. We got the New Orleans Developers, coached by John, aka Pokemon. We got the New York Marauders, coached by Mr. Talent, formerly known as Nips. We got the Atlanta Umbreons, coached by Fainted Sacks. The Slateport Spirits, coached by Wolf Glick. We got the Detroit Steelwings, coached by Crimson Seabad. The Milwaukee Saucebucks, coached by Balor X, aka Magnitude, aka Postmaster Steve. Then we got the Bristol Blizzkins, coached by Game Boy Luke. The Pittsburgh Pichus, coached by Numnexus. The Miami Dolphins, coached by Kyle A. And last but not least, the person that just rated, Newcastle New Kings, coached by Patters.
Yeah, Elliot, exactly. I have a lot of amazing coaches here for this league. Some amazing YouTubers and great entertainers all together, and that's really what spurred this league in the first place. A desire to have some fun, collaborate, and get some awesome personalities and just people together to have some fun battles, guys. So again, I encourage you guys to keep things super positive, have fun with it, and enjoy the battles. You're going to probably see some fun meme sets. You're going to see some funny teams, and we encourage everyone in the league to draft and just have a good time with it. And really, that's going to be the focus. Again, I encourage you guys to check out the fan document, !WBE. Make sure you bookmark that, and I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about how this tiering drafting structure works, right? So you can pull up the fan document, and it'll show our tiers. We went and we deliberated and we decided what our tier structure was going to be. Now, this league has some very different things in it. One of those different things is each team will be drafting one Z crystal. So each team can draft a Z crystal, whether it's Fire MZ or Flyinium Z or Darkium Z, but we're only going to get one Z crystal per team, and once that Z crystal is drafted, no other team can draft it, making this pretty unique. Another unique rule that we decided to take was that Mega Evolutions, the Pokemon that is drafted as a Mega Evolution, can hold only a Mega Stone or that team's drafted Z Crystal. So that makes for some pretty interesting combinations, like Gyarados with Flyinium Z and Megastone. But I do want to make note that if a team were to draft Mega Scizor, then Scizor is no longer to be able to be drafted, and the same goes for the inverse, right? If Scizor were to be drafted, then Mega Scizor is taken off the chopping block as well, and we think that was super important to have to kind of make sure every team is very diverse and different. With only 12 teams in the league, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how things shake up, Elliot. What are your thoughts going into this draft, man? What do you think?
I mean, whenever I was going through the draft, man, I was just focused on finding what mega I was going to take and just trying to see what kind of Z Crystal worked best with my team. And honestly, man, I was, I don't know, I was kind of nervous with what I would go with. And the first pick was scary just because I am the second to last pick and just craziness is going on in my head, and I'm just trying to make sure that I get what's best for me and trying to have fun with the league, trying to take Pokemon that I've never used before and see where that goes.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of breaking down the tier structure here, each team is required to take one Pokemon in tier 1, one Pokemon in tier 2, two Pokemon in tier 3, one Pokemon in tier 4, one Pokemon in tier 5, a Mega Evolution, and a Z Crystal. From that point forward, any team can pick within 4 free picks. That doesn't mean the Pokemon itself is free, but that you could pick from any tiers aside from Megas, and you have a certain allotted point total, 400 points. I explained this on the fan document. Don't worry, we keep track of it on our end, so you don't really have to stress about that, but that's kind of the focal point. So you can draft in really any order you want. You can grab your Mega first overall. You can grab your Z Crystal first overall. You can do whatever you want and anywhere you want, and that adds to a lot of diversity in the teams. It adds to pretty interesting drafting structures, and it led to a lot of fun. So without further ado, I think it's time for us to start off this draft. Are you guys hyped in the chat? Let me see some hype right now. Our first pick goes over to Crimson Seabad and the Detroit Steel Wings, guys. And I know he had some tough decisions to make for his first overall pick. Let's see what he decided to go with. It is going to be Mega Latias. Mega Latias is going to be the first overall pick, which does mean Latias is removed from the drafting board. Mega Latias, of course, sports an incredible series of bulk, also having an opportunity to run a Z Crystal in this league as well, but Mega Latias hits really, really hard, a devastating Calm Mind Pokemon, and again, it just has so much bulk, especially considering one of the best ways to deal with it is knockoff, but with that Mega Stone, it's going to take a lot less damage, Elliot.
And also, I mean, you got Defon going on with the first pick as well. Mega Latias is going to be a huge threat. And honestly, if I had the first pick, I would definitely go with that as well. That was a great pick. And, you know, just at this point, he has to surround it with some amazing Pokemon to deal with just everything else.
Yeah, and we're going to see our next pick by the Slateport Spirits, Wolf Glick. I do want to make a note here. We did have a coaching change mid-draft, so a lot of the team that Wolf ends up having was actually drafted by a previous coach, but Wolf has been awesome, taking over the team, and did have the opportunity to make any free agent transactions that he wanted. He was happy with the team nevertheless. So, Landorus T is going to be the first pick overall for Wolf Glick and the Slateport Spirits. What a great pick, obviously, Elliot. Incredible attack stat. Good speed, intimidate, its typing is really good aside from that 4 times ice weakness, can be defensive, offensive, it really can run the gambit on a lot of teams.
And I feel like Wolf also has a lot of experience with Lando T as it is a VGC mon, and you know, Wolf Glick was the 2016 World Champion, so hey, this is going to be pretty awesome to see what he can do with it, and Lando T is an amazing Pokemon with great pivot.
Yeah, we've got the Newcastle Nidokings Patters picking up Mega Latios, so we see both the Latios get taken, and of course regular Latios and Latios are taken off the draft board from this point. Mega Latios does one thing incredibly better over Latios, and the fact that it does get Dragon Dance. That could be really, really scary for Patters and Newcastle Nidokings.
Yeah, this thing can be ran both ways, and that can be really, really scary. That Earthquake is going to do a lot of damage, and it also is pretty defensive naturally with its stats. So we're going to see what Patters can do with this thing. Mega Latios and Latias are amazing Pokemon, and I'm not surprised that they both went away after the first 3 picks.
Yeah, exactly. We see some pretty interesting strategies going right off the bat here. We see a really, really, offensive Pokemon, and then 2 Latios get taken. But Mr. Talent, the Talent Squad, the New York Marauders, talk about one of the best logos I've ever seen. He's got Tapu Fini, so the first of the Tapus goes. Only 3 of them in the draft. What do you think about this pick? Tapu Fini going here 4th overall, Elliot.
Tapu Fini is amazing, and I gotta say the Misty Terrain can be really nice. One time I had to go against it, and I was just, not wanting to run any sort of status move. And actually, John, who had the Tapu Fini in the draft that I was going against, he brought tons of status with his Fini, and this thing is a monster. So defensive, so offensive at the same exact time. It is such a great Pokemon. The one thing that I don't like about it is that it does not get good recovery, but at the same exact time, it gets defog, so it does a lot for you, and I think Mr. Talent will put in a lot of work with this thing.
Yeah, we're going to see the second of the Tapus get taken. John, Pokemon in the New Orleans Pelipper's grabbing Tapu Koko, a Pokemon that I have a lot of experience with now in P4G. Tapu Koko is so incredibly fast. 130 base speed. I love its versatility from being physically offensive versus specially offensive. U-turn, Volt Switch, one of the few electric types that does get U-turn to kind of help against ground type Pokemon, and sets that electric terrain, man, and it just hits so hard in the terrain.
It's very hard. It has really, really good coverage, and this thing will just poke holes in pretty much every single team. It can be ran physically and specially, and John is going to put in a lot of work with this thing. Unfortunately, every team that has a wired type will not be appreciating it at all.
No, definitely not going to be appreciating dealing with Tapu Koko under any circumstances. This thing is an absolute beast. We're going to see the Atlanta Umbreons talking about a beast. Kyurem Black, one of the just most tremendous wall breakers in the format. Incredible base 170 attack stat. This thing absolutely rips through teams. And obviously, if you pair it with the right Z Crystal, it is so scary.
Talk about coverage and talk about a possible Z Crystal that he may add onto this. Stellium Z can go well, Dragonium Z, Icium Z, whatever my man Christian wants to put on this thing will be crazy good, and Kyurem Black will poke so many holes. And just imagine this thing having some sort of physical ice move that can just go with it. I mean, that would be insane, but Ice Beam is amazing on it regardless of the fact that this thing is just going to put in so much work.
Yeah, Kyurem Black, one of just the most terrifying Pokemon to face in the Draft League format. And making its return to the Draft League format, finally released Mega Lopunny. The Miami Don fans picking up Mega Lopunny, of course. Incredible, incredible attack stat and speed stat. Its typing, fighting, and normal is amazing. It's an amazing combination, and it doesn't even need Fake Out anymore with the way the Mega Evolution works, where it automatically gets its high speed once Mega Evolving. I'm really curious to see how Lopunny functions in this draft. It's one of those Pokemon that's on the borderline of whether it should be allowed or not.
It's amazing, and with that speed increase, like you said, it's going to be so good. It also gets scrappy, so no Ghost Steps can come in and try to block any sort of shenanigans with Drain Punch and Return. Double stab, double awesomeness, and this thing is just a beast, and I'm glad to see it back, honestly.
Yeah, I like it, and I got my next pick here, and I'm gonna go with Tapu Bulu. Grab the last of the Tapus. I've always wanted to try Tapu Bulu. It's one of my favorite Pokemon in Alola, and I just love how hard this thing hits with the grassy terrain. It hits so hard under terrain with Wood Hammers and Horn Leeches. It's got a decent amount of coverage with Mega Horn and Zen Headbutt and Superpower as well, not to mention its defensive prowess, and I figured in a 12-team league, having that terrain could really be useful.
Grassy terrain also will decrease ground type moves significantly, so that'll work really, really nicely if Pokemon like, you know, Landro T, for example, may come in and try to poke some Earthquakes. This thing can just come in and block everything that it wants to throw at it.
Yeah, definitely a good point. Its grassy terrain does reduce the power of ground type moves, specifically Earthquake Bulldoze. But the Milwaukee Sawsbucks grabbing one of my personal favorites. Victini is going to be taken off the drafting board here. Great first round pick, kind of like Bulu in a similar way. Victini is one of the most powerful wall breakers in the format with that V-Create. And if you pair it with the right Z Crystal, again, it can just be incredible. You know, V-Create is just one of the strongest attacks in the game.
Yeah, very, very powerful, and this thing can be ran Bandits. Even if you want to run it Scarfed, it could be really nice and just outspeed pretty much everything with that base 100 all across the board. This thing is a monster, and I am very scared of anybody that has Victini because just that like Z Crystal potential is really, really scary as well, and we'll see what Battleaxe wants to do with this.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said, here we go. Another one of the mythicals. The Bristol City Blaziken's Game Boy Luke picking up Mew. Mew, of course, the most versatile Pokemon in the format, having the opportunity to be defensive, offensive, even potentially grabbing Mewinium Z in this format as a Z Crystal, because no one else is going to want it. So we'll see if Luke goes that route. But just so much versatility with Mew here, and just honestly one of the best Pokemon to start a team off with.
You can do pretty much anything with it. Nice pivot, nice defa, nice, you know, potential hazards. It's very nice. I've had it in the past, and this thing is very beautiful. And like you said, Medium Z potential in this league. Most leagues have it banned. We don't have it banned because this is a for fun league. So let's see if Luke wants to pair this thing with Psychium Z in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, and again, Mew finally getting an opportunity to use some Z moves, but you're coming up here next, Elliot, grabbing Excadrill, one of the best, most offensive steel type and ground types in the format. Why don't you talk a little bit about Excadrill?
Sand Rush potential is very nice, as well as Mold Breaker. Two amazing abilities to pair up with this thing. It's such a monster. It can hit like a boss, and you know, it gets Rapid Spin, one of the best Rapid Spinners in the game because it's 4 times resistant to rocks. Plus, it gets Stealth Rocks, so you can put up hazards with it as well. It just does so much. I feel like I really want to use Excadrill. It's one of my favorite Pokemon personally, and I feel if you pair it with the right Pokemon, it can put in so much work and poke so many holes.
Yeah, Excadrill, like you mentioned, if you get the right Sand Setter, it is very scary. As someone who had Tyranitar and Excadrill on the same team in UCL, it's a monster. But Num next is going to round out round 1 with the 12th pick overall, and it is going to be the Wishmaker Pokemon Jirachi. Of course, base 100 across the board. Serene Grace ability just adds to its ability to destroy teams and really make people rage quit. And I feel like that fits right along with Num Nexus.
Lots of flinching, lots of power, and lots of just speed and everything across the board. BS 100 again. And this thing can be ran in so many different ways. Bulky, Scarf It, and it does get some coverage as well as the fact that it does get Healing Wish. So if he wants to revive a Pokemon, you get the free revive if his Pokemon is low, and that is a nice way to round out the first round.
Yeah, so round 1 has been completed. We have 12 rounds of drafting to go with 12 teams, so we got through round 1 so far. Nothing too surprising. I think a lot of the picks here going early make a lot of sense. You know, teams really just going with, I think in this situation, either what they think is the best they can get or something they've always wanted to try, like in my case with Bulu. But is there anything that you think is surprising? This looks like a pretty standard round 1 to me.
It looks pretty standard to me. I think the only thing was Lando T going as the 2nd overall pick. But hey, you take what fits best for you. And like you said, this team was actually taken over by a former coach. So we'll see how things go. Honestly, not too surprised with anything. And I'm very, very excited for round 2.
Yeah, round 2 is going to be started. And again, I encourage you guys to check out !WBE in the chat. Open up the fan document. We'll have the full draft loaded there after the stream, but you can check out the tiers and kind of see what's available. And just remember, with only 12 teams and the tiering requirement, there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes undrafted as well. So pretty powerful things. So don't be surprised to see some cool free agency and trades in the future as well once the draft is finished up. But let's jump into round 2 here. Num Nexus gets the wheel pick. After picking Jirachi, he is going to come through and pick up Garchomp as his first free pick, which counts as tier 1. Obviously, he filled that requirement with Jirachi. So now he's going to have Garchomp and Jirachi, the makings of a Dragon Fairy Steel Core. Wow.
Such a monster. This thing could put up the rocks. It has such great speed and boosting over the Pokemon with base 100 speed as well. So it's going to be very, very nice. That little Rocky Helmet combination with Rough Skin is going to be very threatening from physical mons. And it also can put up hazards. It can put in some punches. And yeah, I mean, this is another candidate for possible Dragonium Z Outrage. And it's just going to be so monstrous.
Yeah, even potential Z Sandstorm with the Groundium Z, or Rockium Z, I'm sorry. So he's got some options there, but we'll see how he kind of builds out the team. Galactic Elliott going tier 2 here, the first person to dive into tier 2, which makes a lot of sense. Sometimes it makes sense to kind of even out the draft. Again, there's a lot of good things available. So talk to us about Goodra. I know I use Goodra.
Oh yeah, once you picked up that Goodra in the MPA, you just went undefeated. But besides that, Goodra is such a great Pokemon. It's such a great wall, and I feel with this and Excadrill, it can make a nice combination, a nice way to soften up some hits, some water-type moves, and also that Sap Sipper. It could take off any sort of grass moves already, but Sap Sipper will only make it stronger. It has great physical and special coverage, and I feel it can really just soak up hits and deliver some hits if ran correctly.
Yeah, Goodra, like you mentioned, I picked it up at NPA, and I went undefeated the rest of the season and won the championship with Goodra, and that was a huge part of it. Goodra is just such a monster. But we're going to see Game Boy Luke picking up Zapdos here to go with his Mew. I love Zapdos. I love the fact that it's got static. I love the fact that it's got pressure, and you can run Defog with that. Its Volt turning ability is just amazing. Just a great bulky electric type with just a handful of weaknesses. Rock and Ice, I think, are really the only weaknesses, and this thing is so hard to take down with its reliable recovery and Roost.
You never know when this thing could possibly agility baton pass whenever you least expect it as well. It can do so much, and it's such a bulky Pokemon that can also be ran so offensively, and it's definitely not one-dimensional at all. You could just do so much with it, and I love it so much in Draft League format, and I can't wait to see what Luke will do with it, pairing up with Mew, which can pretty much do anything. So this team's looking very versatile so far. 2 Mons that can pretty much Volt Turn, and that is pretty nice to have.
Yeah, Pokemon trainer Steve and the Sawsbucks just sticking with his theme here, going with the Mythicals. Victini and Manaphy on the same team. How is that even fair? Hello is right. Manaphy sports the incredible Tail Glow option, and even more so, Waterium Z Rain Dance, giving an option to get a +1 speed in rain, immune to status due to its hydration ability. 2 of the best wall breakers in the game, really. Manaphy being a setup sweeper, can run bulky sets too with like U-turn, but putting Victini and Manaphy together, I think Steve is out for a vengeance this season.
He's looking to pick up a nasty water, fire, grass core, and that is just looking fierce. I do not want to go against Steve, and unfortunately I have to go against every single coach. And yours truly actually ends up picking his next pick, which I was so scared about. I was actually going crazy.
You called it, man.
Like, please don't pick Bulu-Tran.
I had to get Bulu-Tran, baby. Tapu Bulu and Heatran just fit so well together. They synergize almost perfectly. Heatran's weakness to ground is nullified by Tapu Bulu's grassy terrain. Tapu Bulu's weakness to poison, immunity there. Fighting weakness from Heatran is covered by Tapu Bulu. Fly weakness from Bulu is covered by Heatran. Fire weakness from Bulu is covered by Heatran. Ice weakness, they just synergize amazingly together, and I had to get Bulu-Tran, man. I've never used Bulu in League, and I've never used Heatran ever, I don't think. But I'm excited. I just got a shiny one. We're ready to rock and roll, man. Bulu-Tran is going to be a lot of fun for the St. Louis Rampardos. But we're going to see the Miami Don fans teaming up with his Mega Lopunny, grabbing a Scissor, also taking Mega Scissor off the board. Scissor sports an incredible 130 base attack, but its real niche is in its Technician boosted bullet punches that can just rip through teams. What do you think about this pick for Scissor here?
I think it's a great pick. My man Cal is going out with some physical power with Mega Lopunny and Scissor so far. Going to be very nice, and I feel like Scissor can really put up some pressure, and plus it can be ran defensively with Defog if he really wants to, and I can see so much potential with this core going on for my man Kyle so far.
Yeah, I definitely like what he's got going on here. Lots of offense, and the priority is pretty sweet, actually. So our next pick is going to be coming up here in just a moment. And it is going to be Celesteela for the Umbreons. Fate Attacks is ready to rock and roll. He's got Kyurem Black and Celesteela. Who let this man have that? Celesteela, of course, one of the bulkiest steel types. Similar typing to Skarmory with Leech Seed as its recovery option, but it has so much bulk. Its Beast Boost could really start to like steamroll teams. He can end up getting like Beast Boost and just be impossible to take down. I love Celesteela in a format like this where options are limited, and this is a really scary duo.
Very scary duo. If you have some sort of way to defeat Kyurem Black, you just bring in Celesteela, bring in that Leech Seed, that, you know, just recovery, and just, it's such a monster. Celesteela is going to be putting in so much pressure for so many teams to go against, and with Kyurem Black just making the combination for that, I'm actually pretty scared. But next pick, the New Orleans developers and John pick Mega Gallade. So Mega Gallade is now drafted, and some people may say this is a bit early. I think it's a great steal, and this thing is, I believe, in the tier 2 Mega format, yes. So that's gonna be pretty insane.
Yeah, I think that's probably what led John to this decision. He picked out Mega Gallade as being an incredible value pick in Mega 2, which does help him out in his draft in the future with his points. So I think grabbing it in round 2 is not a bad decision. A lot of people argue that this should have been tier 1, but you know, it's relatively unproven. So we'll see what the New Orleans developers and John do with Mega Gallade and Tapu Koko. One of the things about Gallade that really makes it so usable is not only its incredible offensive prowess and its ability to set up, but really the option to status opponents with Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp. We're going to see the New York Marauders pair up Tapu Fini with Hydreigon. Hydreigon, another Pokemon, a very good value pick in tier 2 in my opinion. I know you lobbied for tier 1 for it, but Dragon and Dark, just great typing with immunity to ground type moves with this Levitate. Obviously pairing up with Tapu Fini gives the nice workings of a Fairy Dragon Steel Core here. And that seems what a lot of teams are aiming for, trying to get those 3 right off the bat, especially with Steel types going so quickly in Draft League format.
One thing about Hydreigon is that it does have a lot of weaknesses, including that ×4 Fairy, you know, super effectiveness. So it's going to be pretty insane to see what Mr. Tal wants to do with Finny and Hydreigon, and that is a very fierce team so far with the nice little Fairy and the nice little Dragon. But next pick, Patters, and the Newcastle Nido Kings take up Mimikyu, which is amazing. Its ability allows it to take up pretty much any hit, and allows it to pretty much let it get its free Swords Dance if it wants to come in for free. So this thing is a beast, and what do you want to say about Mimikyu? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Mimikyu is so good in Draft League format because it's like the anti-setup Pokemon. With Red Card, you can stop a setup every time. You're guaranteed to live a hit no matter what because of your disguise. It actually is pretty strong too. You know, it hits relatively good and just has a lot of versatility. Destiny Bond can be really cool. It does have, you know, priority with Shadow Sneak. You can set up with Swords Dance and things like that. And I think it's just a really solid Pokemon to build a team around. And I think pairing with Megaladios is going to be pretty scary, giving him a nice Fairy type to take on those Dragon type moves and always guarantee be a hit. But the Slateport Spirits and Wolf Glick are picking up Ferrothorn in Tier 2. Very bulky Grass and Steel type Pokemon with that core weakness to fire, but ultimately it can be very scary, setting up hazards like Stealth Rocks and Spikes, being just a menace to deal with those Iron Barbs. And it's so incredibly bulky that if you don't have a Fire type or a really strong Fighting type, which is obviously paired nicely with Landorus T, it can be very difficult to take down.
This team is looking quite defensive so far. Lando T can be ran defensively. 2 hazard setters thus far as well. So this will be a nice way to see what Pokemon want to come in, especially if somebody wants to bring a physical threat. This thing just comes in and takes hits for days. Iron Barbs with Rocky Helmet, Leftovers. We got hazards. We got Leech Seed. There's so many things that Ferrothorn can do so nicely. And pairing that up with Lando T is very nice. But the Detroit Steel Wings take Skarmory the mascot as the second pick overall. This thing is a monster. The hazard control with Spikes as Stealth Rock, Defog. It can take hits so nicely. It has Whirlwind if you want to try to just utilize the hazards very well. And it does get the steel, stab with Iron Head, so that can put up a lot of, just damage in general for mons that are weak to steel. And this is a very great pick to pick up with Mega Latias. 2 defoggers already for him as well.
Yeah, and again, Skarmory giving him some really good hazard options, with Spikes and Stealth Rocks and just a tremendous amount of bulk, pairing really, really well with Mega Latias. One thing I want to mention again, just for people confused, Wolf Glick and the Slateport Spirits started drafting around round 8. There was a previous coach who left the league mid-draft, so Wolf Glick took over the team in round 8. He did have the opportunity to make any changes to the team he wanted after the draft with no limitations to free agency with what was available. He opted to stick with the team he had, but just for clarity's purposes, guys, Wolf Glick did take over the draft about round 8, I would say, because we had a coach leave the league mid-draft. So just to clarify there, guys, but like I said, Wolf was very happy with the team. He knew the team he was getting into, and my only regret is I wish Wolf was in the league from the beginning, because it would have been really cool to see what he would have drafted, but I know he's incredibly excited to kick off this league with us and try out singles format, and he's got a really cool team with some stuff that he's pretty familiar with, so I don't think it's going to be a hindrance to him at all. But here we have round 2 summary. We got some amazing picks here. I have to toot my own horn for the Bulu Tran, but really Garchomp Jirachi from Numb Nexus. I think Celesteela Kyurem Black from Feint Attacks and the Umbreons. Those are some of the big standouts to me. Manaphy Victini from the Sawsbucks. I mean, that's pretty scary if you ask me. But anything really stand out to you, Elliot?
I mean, honestly, I'm really liking the Jirachi Garchomp from Numb Nexus. A very nice combination over there. And I could definitely see lots of just power going on. And I, called the fact that you're going to get Bulu Tran. But, hey, we're going to see how we can take that nice little core down for my man Dan. And I'm really liking these picks so far. The first 2 rounds going nice and swimmingly.
Yeah, so let's jump right into round 3, guys. We got Crimson Seabat of the Detroit Steel Wings on the wheel pick, and he is going to pick up Scolipede. Now, I do want to make it clear that you can pass speed in this league, but you can't pass speed and another stat. So you can pass stats and not speed, or speed. You just can't pass both at the same time. Scolipede as a speed passer is amazing, and I've had it in League before, and I can tell you this thing is a beast, dude. Spikes, Toxic Spikes, so you have that route, but you can also go the offensive route with like a Life Orb, like Rock Slide, Earthquake, Mega Horn, Poison Jab. It just destroys other teams, man. It's really, really scary.
You don't even have to pass the stats, as you can just have the speed and the Swords Dance, and just that can sweep your team alone. So it can do so much for you, and I feel that's a great pick for Crimson Seabat and the Detroit Steel Wings.
Yeah, very cool stuff there. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Scolipede, and grabbing tier 2 there was pretty sweet. The Slateport Spirits grabbing some rain options here, picking up Pelipper in tier 3. Of course, rain is very, very useful with a Pokemon like Ferrothorn. Obviously weak to fire moves, but the rain really does nullify that weakness quite a bit. And fire moves in rain just don't do enough to Ferrothorn in most situations. Pelipper provides a defog option, it provides a U-turn option, and it provides 100% accurate hurricanes while rain is set. So that's actually really cool as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Slateport Spirits use Pelipper with this makings of a potential rain team here, it seems.
It does seem so, and it's pretty nice. Again, the rain will reduce the fire moves, so Ferrothorn will not take as much damage, and we'll see what the Slateport Spirits want to do with the Pelipper, and we're going to see if he may make a rain team out of this, or maybe it's just the rain for the Ferrothorn. But with the next pick, Patters and the Newcastle Yankees are going to take Tyranitar, potential Sandton going on over here, in the future as well. 2 Pokemon that can pretty much bring up just weather, and that's gonna be pretty interesting to see. Pairing this up with Mimikyu and Mega Latios, we're gonna see how that's gonna go. And what do you think about this Tyranitar pick?
Yeah, Tyranitar is one of those Pokemon that can be so devastating for the other team with Dragon Dance, with Banded. I love the Pursuit options. I think that's really clutch. Gives him a really nice Dark Resist, but it can be tricky with that big 4x weakness to fighting. But notice that Latios Latios resists and Mimikyu is immune. So a couple things to note there. Fighting types are not going to be as scary for Tyranitar, and I think it just fits really well. But I gotta say, this pick right here for the New York Marauders, I told Mr. Talon about this one, and I'm not disappointed. Mega Aggron. I won the GBA championship with Mega Aggron a few seasons ago, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. Its bulk is just incredible, and I think Mr. Talent is going to really show his talent with this thing.
The nice little core forming up over here. Mega Aggron is a beast, can put up the hazards, and that filter ability is not to be messed with. And pretty much what you see, Tapu Fini and Hydreigon, what they can't do, Mega Aggron can pretty much fill up. So this will be really nice for him to pretty much just utilize with this team. And I'm going to really enjoy seeing what Mr. Talon wants to do with Mega Aggron paired up with Tapu Fini and Hydreigon. A very monstrous team and a very fierce team so far. And with the next pick, the New Orleans Bumpers are going to take Milotic as their tier 2 pick. So dropping by with Coco and Mega Gallade, Milotic will be very nice to soak up lots of hits defensively and specially. It's going to be very interesting to see. Lots of stalling, but at the same exact time, lots of recovery. And it's going to be really cool to see what this will do for the team.
Yeah, I know John is very familiar with Milotic. I know it's a Pokemon that he's used before and he really enjoys, and it's one of the better bulky water types. I think every team is going to aim to try to get one bulky water type at least, and Milotic is definitely in the top probably 5 in the format in terms of just usability, and falling into tier 2 really adds a lot of viability to it. And again, it's reliable recovery, it's Marvel scalability, it can run competitive in a certain situation, and it's got good coverage. But my goodness, Feint Attacks, calm down. He picks up Mega Gardevoir as his Mega Evolution pick, and he has a Mega Gardevoir, a Kyurem Black, and a Celesteela. 2 of the biggest wall breakers in the format, and one of the hardest things to feint in the format, Celesteela. Wow. Fairy Dragon Steel. I think Feint Attacks is doing pretty well so far.
He's trying to make people faint with these picks, man. I gotta say that Celesteela pairing up with Kyurem Black and Mega Gardevoir, I don't think anybody wants to go against this team so far, but it's a monster. The Hyper Voice can go through so many Pokemon, can go through Substitute as well. It's gonna be Fairy after its Pixelate ability, so that's gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna do so much damage, and just, wow, I am just impressed. With the Miami Dolphins and Kyle Lay are gonna take, I believe, the first tier 3 pick of the draft so far, and taking Tangrowth with that. The nice regenerated mon that is Tangrowth, just compare up with hits, the Sleep Powder, and just very nice to see that going on with Scizor and Mega Lopunny. 2 very offensive Pokemon paired up with Tangrowth in the middle can be very nice for him. And again, that regenerator is going to put in so much work and just switching out and getting HP right back.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where, you know, the Miami Dolphins and Kyle Lay decided that they really valued Tangrowth as a tier 3. Arguably, Tangrowth could be tier 2, even tier 1, really. It's a top OU threat because of its versatility and its bulk. So I think this is one of those things where he kind of reached a little bit early to grab it, but I think it'll be useful for him. And that goes for me too here on this pick. My 3rd pick overall is going to be Crobat. I realized 3rd round for Crobat in a 12-team league is probably a little bit early, but this is a fun league, so I love Crobat. It's one of my absolutely positive favorite Pokemon. I used it in UCL Season 1, and I love the fact that it fits so well with Heatran and Bulu. You know, having their resistance to poison, having an immunity to ground, having the 4x resistance to fighting, and having a grass resistance so I can't have my terrain being taken advantage of, gives me a defog option, a really fast U-turner to fit with the rest of the team, and kind of spreads out my speed tiers a little bit more. So Crobat, just one of my favorite Pokemon. I had to grab it. I just love what it does. I've had a lot of success with it, and Wingman is back, boys. Wingman is back.
Wingman is back, and see that ground types. The ground moves are just not going to come against Dan, even though he has a Heat Rant, so that's going to be very nice for him. And the Milwaukee Smash Bus are going to go ahead and finish up their Fire, Water, Grass core and pick up Shaman. So Shaman is a very nice Pokemon, so much coverage. And I have no idea what kind of Z Crystal he's going to want to pick up with this team so far, as he can just do so much with it. And Shaman is just such a beautiful Pokemon, another mythical Pokemon as well. And what do you think about this pick?
I think it's hilarious that he has 3 base 100s. He has 3 Pokemon that have 100 base stats across the board, 3 mythical Pokemon. It's actually hilarious. Shaman, of course, giving him a great Fire, Water, Grass core. One of the coolest I think I've ever seen in Draft League. He's going to have to diversify those speed tiers, but otherwise, he's got some really cool Pokemon, and Shaman is a really reliable threat. Can be Scarf, can be Specs, can be Life Orb, but we're going to see the Bristol City Blades against Game Boy Luke picking up one of my personal favorites, Asparagus here. I'm sure he'll have a new nickname for it and have some new use for it, but Mega Venusaur pairs so well with just this team that he has. Zapdos, Mega Venusaur, Mew. He's going a different direction than some of the other coaches who've kind of flocked towards these Fairy Dragon Steels, but don't count this team out because Mega Venusaur is one of the biggest threats in the league, and he's a Gen 1 fan, it seems.
Very much so. The Thick Fat ability is going to be very nice to pair up with Zapdos, which is weak to ice, and he can do so much with this thing, just putting on the Sleep Powder, putting on the Sludge Bomb, the Giga Drain. There's so much that you can do with it. The Synthesis, if you pair it up with the Sun, it can do very much, just so much damage. And, you know, if he wants to go against the Sun team and bring Chlorophyll Venusaur with the Z Crystal, he can very much do that. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. But with my pick, we go ahead and take on another Tier 2 Pokemon this time, which is going to be Togekiss. Pairing up that with Goodra and Escudero, I feel that's going to be very nice. I feel Escudero's weak to ground, so Togekiss is going to be very nice for that. And I feel this can really block out some of the weaknesses that we have already. Now, one thing that I will note is that I do have 2 ice weaknesses going on so far, so I will need to patch that up. But Togekiss will be very nice for me. Heal Bell, Roost, it could do, you know, pretty much whatever Cleric wants to do. It can even have Wish. So, hey, I took Togekiss. What do you think about this pick?
Yeah, I love Togekiss, man. It's one of those mons that's like always on my radar. It's got great natural bulk, and it's got such great special attack that you can really run like a bulk invested with Nasty Plot and still destroy your opponent. Obviously, para-flinching is a thing, so you gotta be careful there. But Pittsburgh Pichu is finishing up round 3 here, grabbing Mega Blastoise. This is Mega Pick. Mega Blastoise, of course, sports incredible special attack with that Mega Launcher ability, powering up its Dark Pulse, its Dragon Pulse, its Water Pulse, gets Ice Beam, and of course, a reliable Rapid Spinner. Surprised to see him not go with the Fairy type just yet, but we'll see what Nexus goes for it in round 4, as he does have the wheel pick. But Mega Blastoise coming in here in round 3.
Nice and Mega Launcher ability, going to be nice and fierce with the spheres and the pulses. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do as well. Jirachi and Garchomp are going to look pretty nice, and I think he's probably going to have to see what he wants to do as far as the fairy option goes. Mega Blastoise, you know, I mean, on the wheel pick. Let's see what he may pick on the next one. But hey, that will sum up round 3 of the WBE. And what do you think so far about these picks? Which one do you think is the best pick to run out of team so far? For me, I'll personally have to say that Shaman was for the Milwaukee Sauce Bucks. That is insane. The mythical Pokemon are incredible, and I was definitely fearing Shaman going along that, but hey, nothing could really stop him while he's going at it.
Yeah, I think for me, the big standout here has got to be Fanatax and the Umbreon. You know, with a Gardevoir, Celesteela, Kyurem Black, 2 incredible wall breakers, and one of the best walls in the game. That's going to be really difficult to deal with. I don't want to sleep on Game Boy Luke's team, though. I really like the Mega Venusaur Zapdos core with Mew. Obviously, Mega Venusaur's weaknesses are Flying and Psychic. Mew is going to take on those Psychics. Zapdos is going to shut down those Flying types. I really love that combination with the 2 together. I think and Venusaur's a great knockoff switch in from Mew. I think that's going to be really impressive to see. I'm curious to see where the Spirits head with their water team going on there. And we definitely have some pretty interesting picks coming in here for round 4. I do want to point out, guys, exclamation point WBE in the chat. The commands only work once per minute or so, but you can grab the fan document from there. It's also in the description of the YouTube video afterwards. But please get the fan document. Bookmark it, favorite it. We're going to update it with the teams afterwards. I'm going to do my best to try to keep it up to date so you guys have the schedule there. You have all the teams. You'll have the draft. You have the tiers. I even made a sheet showing you how the tier and the draft works, so you guys can kind of get that if you're a little confused. But otherwise, thank you guys, by the way, for being here. Over 3,000 people here right now watching WBE, and just a big shout out to all the coaches who came together to make this draft happen in the first place, and a big special shout out to Princess Pipsqueak Sydney for helping us out as well. But very excited here to jump into round 4. Numb Nexus has us with our first pick in round 4, and let's take a look. It is going to be Florges picking up his Fairy type to fit with that Fairy Dragon Steel. Florges, of course, a very good tier 2, incredible special defense stat, good special attack, decent bulk all around, serves as a good Cleric option, and can really heal up the rest of the team with Wish, which I think both Jirachi, Mega Blastoise, and Garchomp will appreciate.
Indeed, and Florges is going to be pretty nice to pair up with what team he already has, the Nestle core. We were thinking, where is that Fairy Pokemon with the Mega Blastoise? But I think, you know, with the wheel pick, you can pretty much do whatever you want in whatever order that you want, and that's going to be pretty cool to see. And like you said, that Nestle Cleric, and it's a very, very special defensive mon, so that will be very, very fierce to pair up with Jirachi, which is also pretty defensive on the physical side or the special side, whichever you really want to do, since it's a mythical Pokemon. By the way, with the next pick, your Chicago Cubs are going to take up Rotom Heat, which is a tier 3 Pokemon and is a beast. This thing is such a monster. It has the nice little Will-O-Wisp and has the nice little ability to have that Levitate. So, hey, if you don't have Mold Breaker, you don't have Gravity, this thing has Levitate for 4 times weakness that it typically would have. And it's nice with that nice little Volt Switch. It adds Overheat. And it's a very bulky Pokemon. If you want to run it bulky, it's very nice. That's natural, special offensive ability. And I feel this is a great Pokemon that I didn't want anybody else to have, and I wanted to use for once.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing, I don't know if you mentioned it, but you have good hazard support with X-Control Spinning and Togekiss Defogging to really keep Rotom Heat healthy, and I think that's one of the things that Heat really needs. It really needs the, keeping that Stealth Rocks off the field just so it can have a lot more longevity because its typing is phenomenal otherwise. We're going to see Game Boy Luke going with his Tier 1 theme here, going with Arcanine to pair with Mega Venusaur, which I really love. That Flash Fire ability, that Intimidate ability, taking on those Fire and Ice type moves. Even though Thick Fat helps, it's still nice to have this this threat here. Arcanine, of course, has proven its dominance in the recent VGC scene, being the best Pokemon in VGC essentially, and we'll see how it works in Draft League here, grabbing it in Tier 3. It's got priority, it can be physical, it can be special, it can be defense with Rocky Helmet, reliable recovery with Morning Sun. I definitely like this combination.
It's very awesome, and Zapdos is weak to ice, and so is Mega Venusaur, not with really thick fat, but it's gonna be really nice to have Arcanine just kind of thick fatting the nice little ice type moves, and that's gonna be pretty nice to see. But the Milwaukee Softbus are going to go ahead and take on Alolan Muck as their second Tier 3 Pokemon, which you can actually argue could be a Tier 2 Pokemon. It's a very nice Pokemon, and with Gluttony actually, being nice with the berries, getting boosted in Gen 7, it can be very, very good for him. And just having the Poison Touch as well, potentially, this thing can do a lot. It has the knockoff, it has the Poison Jab, and it can just do a lot for the team in general. And you can even put Sugar Berry if you do not want it to be affected by ground type moves as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the Gluttony ability, and I think that's really what makes it stand out. Only having a weakness to ground types, which, he has to patch up at this point in the draft, but it's just such a great Pokemon in Tier 3. Such a bulky Pokemon, and I love the fact that it can run Poison Touch, which really pairs nicely with some of the other options there. But for me, I had to go with Porygon 2, man. My little duck was sitting there, and I've always wanted to draft Porygon 2. I love the bulk, man. I think Porygon 2 is just phenomenal. Only one weakness to fighting, which Crobat really helps with, and Bulu. And Porygon 2 is just such a bulky Pokemon with its Eviolite. Reliable recovery, of course, allowing it to just take any hit. And it's so easy to build around just because it can really take any hit aside from a fighting type. And it can heal back up, give some Trick Room options as well. And I love the opportunities to status opponents with like Thunder Wave and stuff. And I've used Pokemon like Chansey and Blissey in the past, but I think Porygon is going to really help out and kind of give me the bulk that I want without being the setup fodder that I'm so scared of having.
This team is nasty so far, Dan. I am very much afraid of it. But with the next pick, the Miami Dolphins of Kyle are going to pick up Sylveon. And I think that this is actually a pretty good pick for him. It's a nice little cleric option, a very nice bulky option for a team that has two very offensive Pokemon and a Sylveon that can be ran both offensively or specially if he feels like, he wants to run defensively or offensively. So that's going to be pretty nice for him. A nice little option for him, as well as the fact that it does get the pixelate ability. So Hyper Voice can go through subs if he really wants to. If he wants to run a Q Charm, that's not really the most, best option, but we're going to see IVs are going to go for him. What do you think about this pick?
I think it's great. I think he was able to start the workings of that Fairy Dragon Steel, kind of like a lot of teams are aiming for, but he did it a little bit later, and I think Sylveon's just a great Tier 2. Obviously not as strong as it used to be, because Pixelate isn't as strong as it was, but definitely pretty cool. The Atlanta Umbreon's picking up Suicune as their Tier 2, very bulky water type, one of the bulkiest of water types. That's pretty scary to pair with Celesteela. You're going to need to get a good ground Pokemon, I think, to kind of fit with them. But nevertheless, Suicune, just one of the bulkiest water types in the game. Rest, Sleep Talk, the Crocoon set, Rest, Sleep Talk, Calm Mind. So scary. Gets good phasing options like Roar, things like that. I think Suicune's a really good pick.
Very nice, and also you can run that nice little Toxic to get, the other Pokemon whittled down, and so it can be very nice to pair up with other Pokemon in his team. It can also have that Scald, so obviously it can bring out the Burns, which can pretty much put a lot of pressure onto physical type Pokemon on the other side of the field. And with the next pick, the New Orleans Peppers are going to take on Nidoqueen, which actually John is very much familiar with, and it seems like he's going with familiar Pokemon that he's used in the past. Milotic and Nidoqueen he's used very much so in the past, and Nidoqueen is a beast. He runs it very much so with Shuckleberry. He has the, I believe, T-Spikes with that as well, the ability to bring those up. Nice little grounded poison types, so he can soak up some T-Spikes if he really needs to. It has such great coverage with Flamethrower, Ice Beam, and you can just put on so much work with Sludge Wave, and it's a very good defensive Pokemon if you really wanted to run it defensively, in my opinion. The better of the two Nidos, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with it this season.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Sheer Force Life Orb Nidoqueen with its coverage options is so scary to switch into, and it's such a good Pokemon in League format. The New York Marauders grabbing Xurkitree here as a, I believe it fell into Tier 2 if I'm not mistaken. Xurkitree, just an incredible Electric-type Pokemon with just an out-of-this-world special attack stat. Tail Glow pairing up just makes it so nothing can switch in. He's got that amazing Fairy Dragon Steel, and he's pairing it with one of the best Electric types in the format that can really, like, just steamroll with that Beast Boost ability.
It's a good thing he has that Dragon Levitate, because it seems like he has 2 weaknesses to ground so far, but this is going to be an amazing Pokemon in terms of that special offensive power. And pairing that up with Pokemon like Finny and even Hydreigon, I mean, he's having a nice little field day with especially offensive mons. And it seems like they have a really offensive team so far. But the next pick, the Newcastle Nidokings and Panthers, are going to go ahead and take on Entei. Entei is a very nice Pokemon, having E-Speed, having Sacred Fire, and just running a ban on that with Adamant ability, or Adamant Nature, is going to be very scary for opponents to go against. And it seems like his team as well is looking pretty offensive so far. And what do you think about Entei? I believe you've had some experiences with it in the past.
Yeah, I love Entei. Choice Banded Entei, the Sacred Fire, getting a 50% chance to burn every time you hit is incredible. Coming off just a really good attack stat, a decent speed stat, of course. And again, like I mentioned, priority with the extreme speed is really nice. It does get some other options like Stone Edge. It's just very difficult to switch into. If you don't have a good fire resist or immunity, it can rip through your team with Sacred Fire, and it helps break down those walls with Sacred Fire burns. But Slayport Spirits pick it up. Tornadus Therian form. A very good pick. I've seen this thing go first round in certain drafts. Pairing that with Pelipper gives it 100% accurate thunder or hurricanes in rain. I think that's pretty impressive. Regenerator ability is very nice, and incredible speed stat. I think the Slayport Spirits are definitely on their way towards a pretty crazy rain team.
Very nice rain team, and he has 3 Pokemon that can U-turn so far, and a very fast team, regardless of the fact that he has Ferrothorn. But it's looking very nice. That Regenerator is going to prove to be very menacing, and this team, which once looked not too great, was looking very powerful, and I can see why Wolf is liking the team so far as well.
Yeah, we're going to see the Detroit Steel Wings finish up round 4 here with Conkeldurr in Tier 1. Conkeldurr, a very bulky Pokemon. Incredible attack stat, Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Poison Jab, Elemental Punches. It hits really hard. I love the fact that it's got Guts to basically boost up, you know, if it gets status, so it can really be immune essentially to burn, which is nerfed now. I love the fact that it also gets Iron Fist, I believe, to boost the power of those punching moves. Sheer Force, I believe, is another one of its abilities. I think all 3 of those are right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this thing with a Life Orb, it can be such a huge wall breaker because of its power. And as someone who's used it before, I love using it with an Assault Vest.
It is such a powerful Pokemon, and like you said, that Guts ability, the Iron Fist, and the Sheer Force, you can use either 3 of them, and it's going to be very scary to see what Crimson wants to do with the Conkeldurr, and just soaking up status and running a possible AV if he really wants to is very nice. Like, he can predict the Will-O-Wisp, he can predict the Toxic, he can predict even the T-Wave, and he can just put in so much work. It also gets Mach Punch, so I'm very scared to see what he can do with Conk, and it's a very underrated Pokemon, I feel, in League format.
Yeah, so I gotta ask the chat, guys, what team do you like the most right now? Be sure to check out the fan document, !WBE, to see everything that's going down there. But some pretty impressive teams here as we round out round 4. I really like the Rain team that's forming there. I think that's gonna be really cool. I think Christian Feint Attack still has just a great team in the works with that Suicune pick. I love seeing Nidoqueen go here in round 4. I think it's such a great Pokemon. And I think Rotom Heat, pretty sweet too. One thing to mention though in Draft League is it's really funny how the domino effect starts. When one Pokemon of a certain type gets taken, you start to see other ones get taken as well. So maybe that happened with Rotom Heat and Arcanine, and then Entei going, 3 fire types to go. You might see some bulky water start to go in the future rounds here coming up, but some pretty interesting stuff, Elliot.
Pretty interesting stuff indeed. I really like the Arcanine on Luke's team. He has an SL Arcanine paired up with the Mega Venusaur and the Zapdos. I'm really liking that, and yeah, I'm liking this draft in general so far, and I think everybody's excited to see what's coming in round 5. So shall we start round 5?
Let's do it. Crimson Seabow, the Detroit Steel Wings are going to be grabbing Primarina. Primarina, a tier 3 pick, and just an incredible wall breaker. I have a lot of experience with it if you've been watching my P4G matches. This thing, you can bring its specs every week, and it's going to put in work. It's going to break through walls. It's a good assault vest user. It's got a decent amount of bulk, some cool utility moves like Perish Song, but gives a good fairy type and a really, really good water type.
Following the pattern with water and fairy mons just being so good, like Finny and Azumarill, this thing is a monster. A nice little, just special raking wall. It's an amazing Pokemon. Moonblast Skull. They can even run Hydro Pump if you want to go even further. And if you put a Z Crystal on it, it can put in a lot more work as well. And just, I'm scared to see what he can do with Primarina alongside Conkeldurr. I mean, like I said, great Pokemon over there, and he's looking nice and dandy. But at this point, the Slateport Spirits are going to take the mascot of the Slateport Spirits, the Gengar, as the second free pick. And Gengar, even though it doesn't have Levitate, is still a very, very strong Pokemon. A base 110 speed and a base, I believe, 130 social attack. Just such a monster in general. It can put in so much work, and it does get some good coverage as well. And it's going to be very, very nice to pair up with the Pokemon that he already has. And another special Pokemon to a team that seems to be very physically offensive so far will now have that special support as well.
Yeah, I really like Gengar. I think, I'll be honest, at this point in the draft, Gengar was on my radar. I was probably going to pick it, but it got taken here. But I really like Gengar. Again, without its Levitate, it's still really effective. Curse Body is a decent ability, and it's got such great coverage. And Ghost Spam is such a huge and effective strategy in League format, because there's very few good Ghost Resist or immunities. A lot of teams only have maybe one normal type and maybe one dark type, if that. So it can be really effective. But the Newcastle Nidokings and Patter is grabbing probably everyone's favorite starter from the Alola region. I know I'm going to get some hate for that, but Decidueye here. Decidueye is a great pivot with U-turn. It's got defogging options as well to remove those hazards. And it has something that a lot of Pokemon can't do, which is to trap. It can trap Pokemon with Spirit Shackle, and I think that makes Decidueye a very unique Pokemon.
A very unique Pokemon indeed, a very bulky Pokemon if needed, and it does get the Roost, it does get the Defog, and it can put in so much work. If you even want to put Toxic on it to whittle down some of the people's teams, it can just be very nice in that type of format. And the Decidueye is going to look very nice over there. And one of my personal favorites, the New York Marauders and my man Mr. Talent are going to take on Emboar, which just puts in so much work. It is such a fierce Pokemon. It just can be ran so physically offensive. You can put some HP investments. It's not the fastest Pokemon. You can even put this thing in Trick Room and it could be putting in the work. It is such a great Pokemon though, and I'm always scared to go against it or even try to prepare for it because it just puts in so much effort and so much just pressure. It's insane.
Yeah, I think when you kind of, you look at this thing as a wall breaker, and its ability to use moves like Flare Blitz, its ability to use moves like Wild Charge and Superpower, and kind of paired with, I believe it's got the Reckless for its hidden ability, it just really rips through teams. It's so powerful, and fire, like offensive fire, like we see with Victini, it's just really difficult to deal with. The New Orleans Pelipers and John picking up Sarina as a tier 3 pick. Sarina provides a really good rapid spinning option, good bulky grass type Pokemon, which does have reliable recovery and synthesis. Also gets U-turn for pivoting options. I can tell you that I had this Pokemon and I personally wasn't a fan, but I think it could work on this team. And I think pairing it with Milotic is really nice. And I know John wanted to give it a try. I know he said that Sarina was on his radar. I love one of the things I love about it is the ability to stop priority moves as well. I think that's pretty cool with Queenly Majesty.
I feel like people have to remember the WBE is a for-fun league, and I feel it's very necessary to try out new things, and I feel John really wanted to try out some new weapons as well as things that he's very familiar with, so he decided to go with one new weapon, which is Sarina, a very nice Pokemon with Rapid Spin and U-turn, and just can put in a lot of work defensively and offensively. But the next pick, Christian and the Atlanta Umbreons are going to take up one of my personal favorites, Roserade, which is a very underrated Pokemon, has a nice little spikes and T-spikes. It can put in a lot of work on the special side of things. It's a very specially bulky Pokemon, and if you run it physically bulky, you can do that as well. And you can run the Giga Drain, the Sludge Bomb, you can run reliable recovery on it, and you can also pick up T-spikes since it's a grounded poison type Pokemon. A very nice Pokemon on that.
Yeah, I like the hazard support. I think that's going to be really important for his team. You know, pairing those hazards with those wall breakers, just ensuring that things that switch in are going to not only be punished for switching in, but they're going to have to deal some take some really big hits, and he might be trying to round out with a nice fire type pretty soon. I know Kyle really wanted this Pokemon, and we talked about it, you know, kind of, I had this Pokemon obviously in the NPA, and, you know, Crocodile is such a great Pokemon. Its Intimidate is really nice. I love its Moxie, which can steamroll with like a Choice Scarf. Just a really good Dark type that can fire off knockoffs. And it's a reliable Stealth Rock setter as well, which he doesn't have at this point. So I think Crocodile is going to be really cool for this team, and I'm not surprised to see it go at this point in the draft.
It is an insane Pokemon, intimidating Moxie, like you said. It just can poke so many holes. It can sweep teams if it's coming in late, make it scarfed, and even if you want to have a Z Crystal on it, it can put in so much work. And just having a ground and dark type Pokemon in the same exact way is nice. The knockoff ability, the Earthquake ability, it can just put in a lot of work for him, and I feel this is a great pick for him to round out the team. But yours truly, the St. Louis Imparters, are going to take up Rotom Wash, one of my least favorite Pokemon to go against. And can we say that Dan has a crazy, nasty team? Type 1 in the chat if you guys think so. But why do you go ahead and take Rotom Wash?
I love Rotom Wash. It was on my radar. I've used it in the past, and it's such a great Pokemon, especially in Tier 2. I love its immunity to ground as well, to pair with Heatran. You can see that's kind of a theme of what I was aiming for. And I love its ability to take Fire and Ice-type moves for Tababulu. And not to mention, it gives me a really good Volt-turning combo. Crobat, Rotom Wash really form a nice Volt-turn combo. I know, like, offensively, my team is a little bit underwhelming at this point in time, but I think defensively, I'm starting to really get some good bulk that I'm going to be comfortable with, and I just really love Rotom Wash. Its only weakness is grass, and Crobat does not care. Heatran does not care, so we should be good to go. Milwaukee Sawsbucks picking up Cobalion, the first of the Justice Trio going. Cobalion, a great Stealth Rocker, which he otherwise lacked at this point in time. Good 108 base speed, starting to get away from that base 100 tier, of course, but you know, I really like Cobalion here on this team. It can be really effective as a Swords Dancer, and it definitely needs to be noted that it can be offensive from both the physical and the special side.
Indeed, it does get that Volt Switch ability, which people actually forget about oftentimes, and this is actually going to start off as Fairy Dragon Steel Core, actually, because that's the first of the three that he took. The nice little Steel type over there. Cobalion is very nice and kind of underrated, I must say, and a Pokemon that a lot of people forget about that can just set up and sweep you if you're not prepared for it. Well, the next pick, one of my personal favorites, is Donphan, picked by Game Boy Luke and the Bristol Blaziken's. Now, Donphan is an amazing Pokemon.
Go ahead.
Donphan is an amazing Pokemon. It can put up the Stealth Rocks, can put up the Rapid Spin. It can just put in a lot of work in general. A very bulky Pokemon on the physical side. You can run an AV if you really want to run that specially bulky Pokemon in general. And it can be very beautiful to pair up with other Pokemon. Now, one thing that I will note is that he does have quite a few ice weaknesses. Without the Thick Fat, that's 3 ice weaknesses on the team so far. Pairing up with Arcanine is not too bad, but Donphan is a very nice Pokemon just because it just does so much work just on the physical side and the Rapid Spin and Rocks.
Yeah, it's just not in Gen 1, which is all I wanted to add. But it does give him some priority there. But you're going to be the first person to draft a Z-Crystal. We're going to see Rocky MZ go here in 5th round, the first Z-Crystal taken. What was your decision to grab Rocky MZ so far?
Rocky MZ is going to be very nice, and I decided why not break out the ice and, you know, just draft the first ever Z-Crystal in a draft league. It's very nice for Escadrille. You know, if I want to run some sort of rock-type move to poke some holes, Stone Edge, or even if I run Z Sandstorm, I mean, everybody knows that thing can bring up the +1 speed and bring up the Sandstorm for 5 turns, so it could be very nice for that and just other purposes as well, and I'm looking forward to just trying out something new, and I feel this league definitely gives me the opportunity.
Yeah, and I do want to make note, every team will be drafting 1 Z-Crystal, and you can use that Z-Crystal on every Pokemon, including your Mega Evolution, but only Z moves of that type Z-Crystal. Pittsburgh Pichu's Numb Nexus rounding out round 5 here with his pick, Snorlax, very bulky Tier 3 normal type Pokemon, and its Gluttony ability paired with those Super Berries is incredible. You gotta really like that, the fact that it's just so much bulkier now. Thick Fat ability, really cool, helping out Garchomp, gotta love that as well.
I gotta say, Nexus is a very bulky team so far. Jirachi, Florges, and Snorlax. Especially bulky, especially. I mean, I must say, I'm very, very scared to go against him. And I gotta bring all my wall breakers to go against him in general. But hey, that will round out round 5 of the WBE thus far. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy that I actually, you know, kind of broke the mold and took a Z-Crystal. But in my opinion, oh my goodness, man. I gotta say, Crimson taking Primarina and Kyle actually taking Crocodile are very, very fierce moves, but my favorite of them and the most scary of them was definitely the Rotom Wash by you. Basically, I don't know. I feel like Rotom Wash is a very, very scary Pokemon for me to go against in general, and I feel you have a very, very bulky team so far with Porygon2 and the Rotom Wash, but also a very offensive team with Tababulu, and just it could put in so much work in general with just what you have already. So very nice on you, man.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I really like, I was glad I was able to pick up Rotom. I think that Fire, Water, Grass with Bulu, Heatran, it's just going to complement each other so well. But I'm really glad to see the Z moves getting taken first. And I just want to let you guys know, kind of, you know, some transparency on that. we discussed about how we could make this league a little bit different and how we can make it more fun and a little bit less serious. And a lot of the big issues that leagues have had in the past, from my experience, like the NPA and GBA and things like that, is how they go about Z moves. Because Z moves can be one of the most frustrating things as a league battler, because you could have all the prep in the world, but if they just put in one crazy Z move, that could change the tide of the match. So it got a little stressful prepping for matches when every Pokemon can run any Z move, or even if there's a few Z captains and they can run any Z move, it gets a little stressful in preparation. And I wanted this league to be fun, less stressful. I didn't want people spending hours and hours and hours preparing. Just throw the team together, have a good time, and battle with some friends. And I think making it so you only have to prepare for one type of Z move, that really helps. And it made a very interesting element into the draft aspect of things. It really made you have to think about your team as a whole, kind of make the right draft picks. And like Elliot did here, grab Rocky MZ really early. Probably one of the top 5 Z crystals, I would say, in this probably metagame. Grabbing it early is really nice, as most rock type moves are pretty inaccurate. So you know you're going to be hitting those continental crushes without any issues. But I think it's time for us to jump into round 6 here, guys. You can always check out the fan document, !WBE in the chat, so you can get caught up on the teams, the schedule. Keep an eye on the schedule. You can see all the matches that are happening. You can see the team. I'll have the draft up there afterwards. And again, I will also have the full draft from the stream on my YouTube channel later on. So, round 6, let's kick it off here. Numb Nexus, the Pittsburgh Pichu's picking up Reuniclus, the bulky Psychic type in Tier 2, jumping into his free picks. Of course, very bulky with its recover. But one of the things I love about it, Magic Guard makes it immune to hazards and status. And I love Regenerator, such good abilities, great Trick Room options, and this thing can hit really hard.
It can hit very hard. One of my least favorite Pokemon to go against because of how good it is. It could just be so bulky and tough to get through. And with Magic Guard, if you try tossing it, it's not going to take anything. If it's regen, you can just bring it out and in. And you can also, you know, bring recover with that. And it will never, ever go down. It gets decent coverage in general. And it can hit really, really hard, and a very underrated, especially offensive Pokemon at that. So that's a nice pick for the Pittsburgh Pichus, and very bulky at that. But with the next pick, the Chicago Cubs, aka my own team, are going to take out Mega Medicham. Medicham in general is my favorite of the fighting type Pokemon, and maybe even the psychic type Pokemon. I love Medicham so much. I've used regular Medicham in the past, and for once, I want to try to use Mega Medicham. I was so bummed that you couldn't use it in Sun and Moon at first, and I decided, why not take Mega Medicham as my Mega this time around, and just that fake out bullet punch combination if you really want to. It has all the elemental punches. It can even get rock slide. So if I want to run Z Medicham at one point, I can do that. And Mega Medicham is just going to poke so many holes, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, this was a total snipe. I didn't tell you this, but Mega Medicham was my next pick. So I did get totally sniped there. Very good pick. I think it's incredibly underrated in Draft League format, and I fully expect you to do a little bit better than you did with Mega Metagross. We got the Bristol City Blaziken's going in with Jellicent here. Another Pokemon that was definitely on my radar. I love its bulky water. Well, I got Rotom, but I love its bulky water. I love the fact that it's got recovery. I love Will-O-Wisp. Curse Body is a great ability. Ghost typing is really nice, especially with hazard setting, stopping things like Rapid Spin and stuff like that. I definitely love this pick, this Jellicent pick. I think it's a great water type, especially as a tier 4. I think Luke might have messed up his slides a little bit here, but don't mind that. It's a tier 4.
Jellicent is a very nice Pokemon. Water Absorb. You can even run Curse Body and a nice little spin block of that. And a very, very nice Pokemon to pair up with what he's had so far. It can pair up with that ice weakness that he has, and it's patching up a little bit. So that's very nice to see. And with the next pick, the Milwaukee Suspects Battle Ice are going to go ahead and pick up Staraptor. Staraptor is such a beautiful Pokemon. Running Bandit, running Scarf. And even if you want to have some sort of Z Crystal with that, it can just put in so much work. It gets U-turns, so you know, you get a nice little pivot over there. You can hit it hard with the U-turn even, because U-turn is base 70, and it's just a beast, really.
Yeah, it's a beast. I think the big thing to note, though, the only negative comment I would have about Steve's team is he's got a lot of fast Pokemon, but they're all in the same speed tier, which is kind of funny. So we'll see kind of how he tries to diversify away from that base 100. But Staraptor is just a tremendous wall breaker. One of my personal favorites. Flying and Brave Bird spam is one of the hardest things to deal with in Draft League format, and that's a really good effective Pokemon there. For my pick, I decided to jump into tier 4. One of the first tier 4 picks taken, might have been the first or second. I decided to go with Uxie, a Pokemon that I won a championship with. I love this Pokemon a lot. I love its ability to take on fighting type moves for Porygon. I think that's pretty important. I love its pivoting and just utility options. You can check off so many boxes with Uxie in the fact that it gets knockoff, it gets stealth rocks, it gets heal bell and memento. I love its support options. I love its tremendous amount of bulk, and I love its immunity to ground types as well, which I think is really crucial. As you can see, trying to just make sure Heatran is well protected with my prep.
Uxie is amazing. You can run that nice little Stealth Rock. You can run T-Wave on it, gets that nice Levitate like you mentioned. It's just a very nice Pokemon to have, and it does get some decent coverage moves in general. And with the next pick, the Miami Dolphins of Cali are going to go ahead and take up Salazzle. So Salazzle with that corrosion ability, you know, honestly, I think this is a very fun Pokemon to use. I don't know if I would ever use it in Draft League, but I feel like it can poke so many holes with what it has. You can toss it anything you want, and while it's weak to ground ×4 and weak to a lot of other types in general, it is a very powerful Pokemon, and I feel it's a very interesting Pokemon to pair up with things like Scizor, things like Tangrowth, and it can pretty much just put in the finest of work on the special side of things.
Yeah, I love its speed stat. I think its speed is really, really important. And you mentioned being able to toxic things, including poison and steel type Pokemon, can really, really help out for things like Scizor and Sylveon specifically. It's also just like really fast and can really break down some walls. So I definitely like that pick. Regular Aerodactyl is taken off the board here, which also means Mega Aerodactyl cannot be drafted anymore. The Atlanta Umbreons of Fate Attacks, one of the favorite teams thus far, picking up Aerodactyl, base 130 speed, rock and flying type Pokemon. It's gonna be interesting to see whether he tries to pair that with a specific Z Crystal, but Aerodactyl, just a great lead Pokemon with Stealth Rocks and Taunt, kind of an anti-lead. I think that's pretty cool as well, but what do you think about this pick here for Christian?
I think this is a very nice pick in terms of just getting up the hazards. I feel he has so many things that can put up hazards on the field so far. Roserade can hazard stack alongside Aerodactyl. I'm pretty sure Celesteal can also put up some hazards if I do recall correctly. If not, then my mistake. But I feel Aerodactyl is pretty nice indeed, and it's very nice for lead, like you said. Taunt, rocks, and just a nice little stat in terms of the speed and the attack. But with the next pick, the early developers are going to go ahead and pick up Bronzong, a very, very bulky Pokemon, a very tough Pokemon to break through. I believe you can run that Trick Room. I believe it just gets nice little rocks, and it is a very nice to pair up since it does have Psychic and Steel as its types. So that, you know, double typing can be really nice for him as he's been lacking those, and I feel this can pretty much be nice for his team. I don't know how well considered Giants, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's two main. First of all, I think John got a little carried away with Bronzong on the slide here. It's a little big, but either way, two great abilities in Levitate, Heat Proof, which is great in Draft League because you can kind of look at your opponent's team and determine which ability is going to fit better. But it's just a really reliable Stealth Rocker and shuts down a lot of offensive Pokemon in the format. And it's reliable. You could bring it almost every week, and it's going to be very good, especially in Tier 4. Mr. Talon, the Talon Squad, grabbing such a great ground and poison type Pokemon in Nidoking. Nidoking is just, again, like Nidoqueen, it's such a huge threat. Having the opportunity to run Sheer Force and Life Orb together, which just proves to be one of the strongest, most incredible offensive, pressure, prowess in the format with great coverage options. And I love the fact that Nidoking sits at base 85 speed and has two, like, it can be physically offensive or specially offensive, and it can even be defensive in certain situations. So I think this is a great pick.
Great pick indeed, and just like Nidoqueen, it does get that Sheer Force ability, and just like you said, that amazing coverage and just poking the holes. And I love to run it, physically. It also gets Sucker Punch if you really want to run Sucker Punch on it for the nice little priority, and I think that's a great pick. But with the next pick, Patters, the Newcastle Nidokings are going to go ahead and take out one of my personal favorites, Seismitoad, a very underrated Pokemon, and it gets lots of good coverage. You get Sludge Wave, it gets Ice Beam, it gets, Water Stab, Ground Stab, of course, and also Water Absorb is very nice, and I feel it also gets rocks, and I just feel like it's really good, and it can really put in a lot of work for him. And the fact that he has Entei Decidueye, it can be bulky, it can be offensive, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe he got sniped on that Nidoking. I'm not sure. I think Seismitoad is supposed to go into his Tier 4 slot, so just a minor edit there on the slide. But nevertheless, Seismitoad, very good in Tier 4. I love the Water Absorb, only having that one weakness to grass types. But the Slateboard Spirit's going to grab Mega Swampert now. I don't think anyone else would have taken Mega Swampert, but if someone drafted Swampert, then this would have been off the list. So pretty good pickup here, and it's official. This rain team is happening. Mega Swampert, Pelipper, Tornadus, Ferrothorn, protected in rain. What do you think about this, Elliot?
This is very nice, and like you said, I mean, this is one of the first instances where, hey, you take the Mega, and you take the Mega a little bit earlier than you need to, because the regular Pokemon may have, went at some point, because regular Swampert is very nice, and I feel Mega Swampert is going to be a beast in the rain, and it just can be run Adamant if you really want to, because it goes time, speed, and speed, and you can even run a Jolly if you want to be faster than pretty much anything, and it just gets nice coverage. Ice Punch, Earthquake, Waterfall can put in so much work, and I feel that's a very nice pick for him. But with the next pick and the last pick of the round, the Detroit Steel and Crimson are gonna pick up Alola Marowak for him. So I believe Marowak can put up hazards like Stealth Rock. I do believe that it gets really nice abilities. It gets Lightning Rod, so, you know, if he wants to patch that up with that nice little Electric weakness with Skarmory and Primarina, Marowak can just kind of come in and get a nice little free Lightning Rod up. And I feel this is a very nice pick, a very nice round out to his team, which is certainly quite special, you know, not including Conkeldurr. So, pretty nice for him. A nice little underrated fire type. And what do you think about this pick? A nice little spin block as well, by the way.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, with Thick Club, it is just such a huge offensive threat. You don't even have to really invest in its attack stat, like, and it's still so powerful. And again, it has a couple good abilities: Rockhead, Lightning Rod, and even Curse Body. You can pair that Rockhead with Flare Blitz and have it hit incredibly hard offensively, have it be a wall breaker, but also just it's a great spin blocker. And again, it can set up Stealth Rocks as well. So definitely a value pick in tier 3 as well. That's something to keep in mind. Is it was a tier 3, and I think it could easily have been tier 2. But again, it's hard to always say with some Pokemon if they're unproven in the format or whatever it may be. But this is our summary here for round 6, about halfway through the draft, guys. We have 12 rounds to go. Some pretty cool picks going. I think Nidoking for the Marauders, great pickup there. I think you grabbing Mega Medicham was such a steal coming in round 6. Mega Medicham could have easily been a first, second, even third round pick, but to get it in round 6, I think was super valuable because it's just such a huge wall breaker that has very few good checks or responses, which I happen to have in Uxie. But you know, every team will be playing every team once, so it's going to be interesting to see how things play out there. But we have confirmation of the Rain team for the Spirits, and I think we're actually ready to rock in round 7. The Crimson Seabat, the Detroit Steel Wings, has the wheel pick here, so right into round 7 we go, and he's going to grab Umbreon as his first pick. Galactic Elliot.
Oh my goodness, Umbreon. That's a very thick and fat Pokemon, I must say. Umbreon is going to be very nice for that Cleric ability, and obviously, you know, it's a great Dark-type Pokemon in general. It can just soak up so many hits. Toxic, it gets synchronized, so if somebody wants a Toxic hit, they'll just Toxic right back. And you can block lots of Pokemon with this in general. I feel this and Primarina are very nice together in general, as well as the rest of the team. And you can be ran physically, defensively, and especially defensively. So, pretty nice pick for Crimson, and honestly, an underrated pick for him in general.
Yeah, as someone who's using Umbreon right now in a league, I gotta say, you're not gonna bring it every week, but when you bring it, its pressure and its presence will be felt. It's very usable. I love dry baton passing, which is when you just baton pass without a stat. I always say that's pretty cool. But the Slateboard Spirits grabbing the second Z Crystal in the draft, Flyinium Z, which I love this pick. Flyinium Z paired with Tornadus T Hurricanes, that's a cool option. But paired with Landorus T and Fly, oh my goodness! Not to mention you have some options with Pelipper if you really want to go that way, but I love Flyinium Z on this team. I think pairing it with Landorus T alone is brilliant, but pairing it with Tornadus T, that's pretty cool as well.
We don't know who may have this Flyinium Z Crystal for the, you know, pretty much any sort of matchup you're going to go against. And honestly, I think it's really nice in general. If you're not going to bring Pelipper, you can always bring Tornadus T with the Flyinium Z. If you want to bring the Z Fly Lando, it's very nice. So very good pick by the Slateboard Spirits, and I believe that will pretty much serve some benefits for him. Well, the next pick, Patters, the Newcastle Nickens, are going to go ahead and take up Registeel, which is a very nice Pokemon. That nice little Seismic Toss could be nice, and if you don't want to run it offensively at all, it can just pretty much soak up any sort of hits if you wanted to. And it's a nice Steel-type Pokemon in general. It can put up some rocks, and it's just, it has Clear Body, so you cannot get intimidated, and you cannot pretty much lower down any of its stats. So I think that's a really good pick for him in general, because I feel his team is very offensive, and this will kind of pretty much bring some defensive status to his team.
Yeah, he's got that Fairy Dragon Steel now as well. Registeel is just one of the better Steel types from like a budget perspective, right? You know you don't have to grab it early in the draft, but it'll still be a reliable Steel type for you. Here we are in round 7. So the Marauders picking up the second of the Justice trio, the Swords of Justice. We got Virizion here in tier 4, a very reliable grass and fighting type Pokemon, covering some boxes there for him, but serves in tier 4, and I love the fact that it helps out with his speed tiers as well. His team's relatively slow at this point in time, and Virizion gives him some speed to kind of help with that, and also you know, break down some walls. This thing can be really effective from a physical side with Swords Dance. It could also be especially offensive Pokemon with Focus Blast and Giga Drain.
Definitely so. You can also run that nice little Swords Dance, and like you said, it's a nice little mixed attacker if you want it to be. It's a nice little physical / special Pokemon if you want it to be that as well, and it gets nice little coverage for that. And I feel like, you know, it could hit a little bit harder, but of course, that's why setup is there, and once you can set up with that thing, it can sweep. But speaking about sweep and offensive prowess, we got a nice little Weavile going on with this pick by the New Orleans Pelipers, I should say. And Weavile is such a beast. Fake out, knock off, Ice Shard gets that double priority, and I feel like, you know, that speed in itself and that offensive itself is very, very beautiful, and I feel John is just picking up a nasty team thus far.
Yeah, pretty crazy to note that this thing is here in round 7. This thing won a GBA MVP, most offensive Pokemon, a couple years back. But that's the crazy thing about a 12-team draft, you know, and the tier requirements that we have to fill. There's so many good Pokemon that are still on the board right now that haven't even been drafted. Weavile, of course, going now, one of the best, but there's Pokemon that haven't even been touched. Azumarill still sitting there. You know, things like Starmie, which you often see early game. Volcanion, Zygarde 50%. Some pretty amazing Pokemon still undrafted at this point. The Umbreon's picking up a very valuable tier 4. Originally in tier 3, moved down to tier 4 for this draft. Miltank, very bulky grass type, or I'm sorry, normal type Pokemon with the ability to be immune to grass types with Sap Sipper. Thick Fat ability makes it resistant to fire and ice, which is really nice. Only having one core weakness in fighting. Stealth Rock user, good speed stat. Gotta love this Miltank pick here in tier 4.
That was a huge steal, I must say. I was legitimately about to take that Miltank, and then I see Christian take it, and it's such a beautiful Pokemon, like you said. Thick, fat rocks, you know, just Heal Bell. So much amazingness, and Body Slam with that 30% chance to paralyze. I think that's an amazing pick, and I am certainly quite jealous. Well, the next pick, Tyrantrum is going to be taken by Kyle A. and the Miami Don fans, and Tyrantrum is a very, very strong Pokemon with a nice little head smashing ability, so kind of taking that little stats from you, the head smashing, and I believe, you know, it just has lots of ups and downs to it. I mean, I don't know how great it is on the special side in terms of special defense. I think it's a very frail Pokemon, that sort of standard, but I mean, honestly, the defensive side just kind of makes up for it. It's a beast, and if you run it Scarf, then it can pretty much outspeed everything, and it already has so much power to pretty much defeat pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Choice Scarf Tyrantrum with Head Smash, very hard to switch into. Dragon Dancing Tyrantrum, very hard to deal with. Just some really cool stuff there. I'm going to be the first person to jump into tier 5. I really wanted this Pokemon. I was looking through the tiers, and at this point, I kind of had my draft already planned out, so fear not. But Poliwhirl is my tier 5 pick. I didn't really like the ground types that were left, and I've always thought Poliwhirl was actually really good. It's a good stealth rocker, and in tier 5, again, I wasn't very happy with what was there, so Poliwhirl gives me some priority with Ice Shard. It's very bulky, thick fat is pretty cool, allowing it to live a lot more hits, and every time I prepare against a team with Poliwhirl, I always struggle, man. It can be really surprisingly bulky, and it's got a base 100 attack stat as well, so that can prove to be pretty effective.
The base 100 attack paired up with the Earthquake, you know, it just puts in the work. And also another rock user to bring up some stealth rocks for you. So you're looking quite nice with all the hazards that you can put up. But for the next pick, speaking of hazards, Necrozma is taken by the Milwaukee Sasbucks. And Necrozma, you've had some, you know, experience with this thing in the MPA. And it is a very, very great Pokemon. It has the ability that can pretty much have whatever type of super effective move you want to throw at it. So it's very nice in that kind of way. It also gets recovery. It gets, you know, rocks, and it gets T-Wave. It gets so many different ways to just kind of roll down a team in different sorts of aspects. You can set up with its stored power, and it gets just a lot of coverage in general, and a very bulky Pokemon at that.
Yeah, I think Steve's going to be really busy. He's not going to have to breed most of his Pokemon. He'll get most of them from events. Necrozma, of course, just another legendary. As someone who's used it before, you can bring it every week with Stealth Rock, and it'll be effective. But it can do so much more with setup options, too. So keep that in mind. We're going to see the Bristol City Blazekins Game Boy Luke grabbing Granbull here, a Tier 4 Fairy. Pretty reliable Fairy type. It's really offensive, pretty slow, but Intimidate is nice. Quick Feet can be used. It's got Earthquake, Play Rough, hits pretty hard, nice coverage options, and I love the fact that it can be support too with Thunder Wave and Roar, Heal Bell as well. So it can be a pretty solid tier 4 pick.
It's a very nice Pokemon with that Intimidate especially, and just the fact that you can run that T-Wave, run that Heal Bell, I feel that's very nice, and it's a very, you know, nice Fairy type Pokemon to take late in the draft. If you don't already have one, it's just there, sitting there, kind of saying, hey, pick me. And I mean, it's not your go-to, but if you already have a very nice core with the fire, water, and grass, then hey, Granbull is there in the future. But with my pick, I decided to take a Pokemon that I am very, very, you know, experienced with, which is Exploud. Sure, I did run a physical Exploud one time. I regret that completely because all you gotta do is run that Specs and Boom Burst, and then everything's gonna die, get scrappy in that kind of format. And it is such a beast, and just pairing this up with the team that I have right now, I feel like I really needed something to just poke a hole, and this thing basically comes in and just drops a Boom Burst, and anything's going to die, or just not appreciated at all. So I decided to take my nice little Boom Burst Sting Explode on this pick.
Yeah, I could tell you as someone who's dealt with Exploud, it is very difficult to switch into. You know, Specs Exploud is so hard to deal with because it goes through substitutes, and it hits ghost types too, so you can't even deal with that. But we're gonna see the Pittsburgh Peaches round out round 7 with Blaziken as his pick. Blaziken, of course, a fighting and fire type Pokemon, does not get speed boost though. This is Blaziken, just for clarity. We just have Blaziken in tier 4 here, but still a really good Pokemon nevertheless.
Very much so. Blaziken is very nice, and that is going to round out round 7. So, a very nice round so far with the Pokemon that have been chosen, and I feel like I'm just happy that I wasn't the only person taking a Z-Crystal this early. I'm going to be honest, but so far so good. I feel the best pick of this round, if I had to pick it, would be Miltank, just because I'm jealous. I was looking to pick Miltank, but once I saw that taken, I'm like, you know what? I need a normal type. I'm going to take Exploud and just rock and roll with what I got.
Yeah, I think for me, seeing Weavile, one of the best Pokemon in this format, get taken in the 7th round is pretty nuts. But again, keep in mind, you know, teams are in a situation where they can draft, you know, they're required to fill out every one of the slots, and that's going to mean with only 12 teams that there's going to be some really good stuff on the board. At this point, Mamoswine's still on the board. We see things like Azumarill still on the board, Terrakion, both Thundurus. I mean, there's so many good Pokemon still available, but teams are required to fill out their different tiers and use their points efficiently. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. I know from a viewer perspective, it might be a little confusing. Why do they grab Piloswine when Mamoswine's there? Well, if I grab Mamoswine, then I fill up my free points, and I have to get a tier 5. So to me, it made more sense to go Piloswine. I know it's not as good, but it works with the team, in my opinion. So that's you kind of got to keep that in mind, and you're going to still see some power as the last few rounds come out here. Just because we're in the later part of the draft does not mean there's not going to be good Pokemon taken. You know, there's still some Megas to be picked. I know my Mega hasn't been picked yet. There's still all the Z-Crystals to be picked and lots more, guys. I encourage you to check out the fan document, ! WBE in the chat or in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards. Bookmark the fan document. It's got all the good stuff. You got the schedule there. You've got how the draft works. You got all the tier document. I know a lot of people always ask for tiering so they can start their old leagues, and I highly encourage it. Feel free to take our tiers and use our format. You know, change it how you see fit. You can unban certain things, you know, like Mega Mawile you could potentially use or whatever. Do whatever you want, but have fun with it. And I encourage you guys so much to check out every coach in this league, guys. Some amazing people we got together. I'm really excited about everyone. Everyone's really good friends. I think that's super important, and we're just looking forward to having some great battles. So let's jump into round 8 here. Crimson Seabad. No, I'm sorry, Numb Nexus just picked Blaziken, so he's got the wheel pick, and he's going to be kicking things off here with Jolteon. Jolteon, of course, tier 3, base 130 speed electric type. Fast electric types are always a staple in the format, and Jolteon is definitely no exception there.
Volt Absorb is very nice for him, as he can just soak up any sort of electric type moves he wants to. And looking at his team, he has very, very offensive Pokemon, but it seems that time he has some defense, so this thing is going to be pretty nice for him. And honestly, in round 8, this is a steal, I must say. Jolteon is such a beast, and is very, very just fast and especially offensive. And that's pretty much all you need from it. Volt Switch, and it does get, you know, just some coverage, not too much of it. But I feel this is a nice pick for him, and we'll pretty much round out his team just at that. So with the next pick, we got myself coming up, the Chicago Cub Choose, and we are going to go ahead and take up another evolution, which this time it is going to be Vaporeon. So like Jolteon has Volt Absorb, Vaporeon has Water Absorb. I love this thing so much. I've used it in the past. Nice little cleric options, you know, just having that skull to burn things, and having just, you know, having things like Substitute if you want to have some, you know, fun and going under a sub. If you want to have Baton Pass, so you can Baton Pass a sub. And it is just very, very bulky Pokemon. What do you think about this? I know you've had experience with this in the past.
Yeah, I love Vaporeon. It's always been one of my favorites. I love the pairing with Goodra, as I think I had in the NPA, right? You know, kind of pairing it with Goodra is awesome because you're really reducing that potential you know, grass weakness, but also the electric weakness that Goodra can handle too. And I love the dry baton passing again, being able to swap out and get momentum, and it's a great water like switch in, and you could bring it every week and it'll be reliable. You gotta say, we got the Game Boy Luke here, and the Blaziken's picking up Druddigon here as a tier 4 pick, I believe. Druddigon is a very bulky dragon type. I love the Stealth Rock option. I love the fact that it can be offensive as well with Sheer Force, Rocket with a Life Orb, or just offensive in general. But it could also be Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet, one of the few things that can take on Victini pretty well. I like Druddigon, and I remember my battles between myself and Lars, Victini versus Druddigon. It was like 3 seasons in a row we dealt with that, but really cool Pokemon for sure.
Very beautiful, and it also gets, you know, the hazards and the hazard control with a nice little Dragon Tail, just Dragon Tailing things out, dishing more damage, and it's just very nice, and it also gets the Gunk Shot for fairies, so it's quite nice at that, very bulky in general. So, but speaking of another bulky Pokemon, the Magisaspas are going to go ahead and take on the spinning Pokemon Hitmontop. And Hitmontop is beautiful. I gotta say, I really do like the rapid spin on it. I do like the fact that it gets the technician ability. If you want to run things like Bullet Punch, will become more powerful, and just other moves like that. And I feel like, you know, it's just a decent fighting type Pokemon in general. So, yeah, what do you think about this pick for Steve?
Yeah, surprising to see the first of the Hitmons come through. Technician, Intimidate, some good abilities, decent bulk, and just a great rapid spinner, so that definitely helps, especially when you have a Pokemon like Victini and Staraptor who really need you to keep those hazards off the field so they can be fully as effective as they normally would be. So I think Hitmontop gives him a really good option there. My pick, though, for the Rampardos is going to be Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee was on my radar. I did not want Hitmontop, but I was very glad to get Hitmonlee as my fighting type in Tier 4. I love the opportunities of using this Pokemon with Tapu Bulu's Grassy Terrain and Grassy Seed to activate that Unburden. I love the potential normal gem fitting with Unburden, and really Hitmonlee is just a huge hitter. Like, it gives me a knockoff switch in, but I love the fact that it can be Scarfed and it has Unburden, and it hits so hard with its crazy attack stat and reckless ability. High jump kicks can be really, really good. So I've seen this Pokemon put in so much work in leagues and sweep, and it's one of those Pokemon that, against the right team, it can easily rip through them.
I completely forgot about Grassy Seed bringing out that Unburden, which is quite insane. That is a very, very smart tactic, and I'm looking forward to seeing you use that. But with the next pick, one of my personal favorites, Kyle Late takes on Electros, a beautiful Pokemon, so much coverage. Now weak to any sort of move unless it has, you know, the Gravity or Mold Breaker against it, and it's just a beautiful Pokemon in general. It does so much for you. It has the U-turn for ground types, has the Volt Switch in general for the pivot, and it's just a Pokemon that you can rely on to come in and just do different stuff every single week. If you even want to feel snarky, you can run that Coil and run some physical moves, and it does have a very good physical stat alongside its special stat. One thing is that it's quite slow, but that slow Volt Switch can pretty much deemed to be nice and very, very helpful for Kyle and the Miami Dawn fans.
Yeah, it's a great Assault Vest user, but it's just got so much versatility in its move pool. I think it's going to be interesting how the Dawn fans use that. The third of the Hitmons go. They go quick, man. Hitmonchan coming through here. This is the Hitmon round. Hitmonchan for the Umbreons gives him a rapid spinner, hazard removing option. I like the Iron Fist. It's probably the worst of the Hitmons, but it's still a decent Pokemon in Tier 4 and gives him a fighting type Pokemon, which are going quickly. There's some good ones still, but we'll see how Christian does with Hitmonchan here. I think he wanted, what was it, Hitmontop, and it was already taken. I think we had a little bit of an issue there. That was funny, but Hitmonchan, pretty solid stuff there. Again, great offensive prowess with you know, just the number of elemental punches and priority and mock punch and stuff, which is pretty cool. But, you know, we'll see how that kind of bears. Again, at this point, the draft teams are starting to fill out their slots, and he needed some free points there. But we got the New Orleans Pelipers who just picked Weavile. He saved the power for later, man. Haxorus, dude. Haxorus, the base 97 speed dragon that hits so hard with a credible 147 base attack. Dragon Dancing monster with Mold Breaker. That is incredible. It is so scary. You know, if you don't have a good steel type, and even if you do, if you don't have a good steel type, this thing will just rip through your team. That it can be used as a choice Scarfer, and again, if you can set up a Dragon Dance, it is scary. Pair that with dual screens with Bronzong, oh baby.
Its coverage is insane, and honestly, any sort of Levitating Mon will be scared of this thing, especially if you're Electros. Kyle is probably, you know, feeling a little bit scared right now, picking that Electros, because he's going to have to deal with John's Haxorus coming in fierce. That D-Dance is powerful, and that's going to be very, very scary to go against. But speaking of scary on offensive, my man Nips, aka Mr. Talent, goes ahead and takes up Buzzwole, which is a very offensive Pokemon, and actually a lot of people do run it AV because it's not the best on the special side of things on the defensive aspect, of course, but it does get lots of moves that can put up some work. You can get a Drain Punch, you get lots of coverage, and I feel this is a Pokemon that I have not really had so much experience going up against, but if you get this thing to go Scarf, it can really kill you, and especially if you're running that thing, you know, with that physical presence and having that Beast Boost, it can just get the Beast Boost and just sweep you, especially if you're Scarfed or under some sort of Trick Room. It's a beast.
Yeah, pretty interesting to note, though, with this team having 3 fighting types already. pretty interesting. But the Newcastle Nidokings picking up Galvantula here to set up those sticky webs. Of course, known as the best sticky web setter in the format, maybe aside from Smeargle. This thing is really cool. It gives him a fast electric type, good bug Pokemon, 100% accurate thunders, which makes it a lot stronger than people like you initially think, right? Its special attack isn't that high, but using Thunder over Thunderbolt can make such a huge difference, especially when you factor in the 30% chance to paralyze. That Compound Eyes is bringing the accuracy up to, I believe, 97 or something like that. So you're going to be hitting those Thunders all the time, and Galvantula can be really good, especially pairing it with something like Entei and Mega Latios and even Tyranitar. It's pretty cool stuff.
And whenever you're going against teams like, you know, that have Snorlax, Alola Muck, and other types of Pokemon that have berries, Unnerve is very nice as well. But speaking of a very nice Pokemon and a Pokemon that I really wanted to use, Ditto actually goes, and Ditto with that Imposter ability is beautiful, and it's a Pokemon that can pretty much hold whatever item you want to hold with it, and I believe you can even run Z-Transform, but you can only do that if you have Limber, obviously, so not really the best in that type of way, but it is quite nice, I must say, and, you know, let's say Pokemon starts setting up, you can pretty much take that setup, plus have a Scarf, you can pretty much outspeed everything on that point and sweep. So you do not want to set up in front of this thing, because it could just completely steal your stats and just completely reverse sweep you on that type of aspect.
Yeah, Ditto is it's one of those Pokemon that probably has one of the biggest impacts in Draft League format without ever coming to a match. Like, just being on the team makes the opponent really question what setup Pokemon to bring and whether they can bring setup in general, and it can be really good. The Detroit Steel Wings are going to round out round 8 with Kamala in tier 4. Kamala, a rapid spinning dude that cannot get status. Of course, its Comatose ability keeps it asleep the entire time, making it so you can't burn it, can't paralyze it, can't do any of that. And as a normal type, it actually hits pretty hard. It's got a decent attack stat, some pretty cool coverage options like Woodhammer, and can be pretty good, man. It really can. Assault Vest Kamala can do some things too. It's got some pretty good coverage, and the real question is Kamala the koala or is it the log? I don't know, man. I haven't figured it out yet.
I mean, the shiny kind of points that it's, you know, the log, but, you know, the world may never know. Either way, that's a nice pink, a nice little Pokemon to run that Rapid Spin on, and he has lots of options that you may want to use for the nice little hazard removing. So that does run out round 8, and I gotta say, with all the Hitmons going and 2 evolutions, I think this is kind of a funny round, I must say. Lots of, you know, fighting type Pokemon as well. We got Buzzwole, we got Hitmontop, we got Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan. I mean, lots of fighting types going around now, and people, like you said, are just trying to round out their team in general. And lots of snaps are going on as well, and at this point, you know, you kind of think, oh, I'm trying to round out my Pokemon and round out my team, and if, you know, I get sniped at this point, that's really going to hurt me, and with just 12 teams, you think not many snaps are going to happen, but a lot of snaps have happened so far, so we're going to see how things are going to go.
Yeah, and just to note, as we round out the last couple rounds here, 9, 10, 11, and 12 coming up, so many good Pokemon still undrafted. Salamence, Serperior, Hippowdon, Infernape. I think Kartana, Keldeo are still sitting there. You've got some good stuff in tier 2 like Kommo-o, Mamoswine, Mandibuzz, Azelf, Amoonguss. Some just amazing Pokemon still available. Alolan Ninetales sitting in tier 3. Heracross. Just so many good Pokemon still for these teams to grab. But again, the tier structure requires you to grab certain tiers, certain Pokemon, and you have certain point requirements to try to make sure that every team is, it makes the draft really interesting for strategy purposes, and it also kind of diversifies the team out, so no one, hopefully, is too strong, except for maybe Feint Attacks at this point. But again, I encourage you guys to check out the fan document, !WBE, bookmark it now. We're going to have the full draft there, and of course, the draft stream will be up on my YouTube channel pretty soon. But again, please go check out the fan document. Everyone's YouTube and Twitter is there. Take the 10 seconds right now and go drop everyone a subscription and everyone a follow. Please show them some love. You're going to want to watch these matches. I'll tell you guys, we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit different than what you normally see. We got some great coaches, some great YouTubers. That was the core focus of this league, guys, is to get some amazing YouTubers together to battle and have some fun. So let's jump into round 9 here. Crimson Seabad just dropped that nice little Kamala pickup. He's going to kick off round 9 with Groundium Z. Groundinium Z, I don't know which one it is, but Groundium Z, which I do want to make note of, can be paired with Latias and Earthquake. Very interesting to note if he decides to not go Mega Latias. And I see some opportunities there, I guess potentially with Scolipede with Earthquake. And I don't think he would run it with Marowak because he probably want Thick Club. So that's what I see so far, but maybe he has some other ideas in his draft plans.
I mean, I'm not really thinking too much off the top of my head about this pick. Maybe there's some sort of status move that's grand that you can use. You know, we're not really limited to only using attacking Z moves, so we're gonna see what Crimson wants to do. Maybe his next pick or two will have influence with that Grandinium Z pick. But hey, good on him, and we're gonna see what he can do. Let's see what kind of fun things you can pretty much pick up. But rounding out that nice little Rain team again, the Slayport Spirits take up another Rain candidate, and that is Kingdra. I was calling that Kingdra getting picked, and it's a very, very nice steal in Tier 3. You can argue that this thing is Tier 2, but like we always say, I mean, you can argue whichever you want, whichever way you want. This thing is very nice. If you do not even bring the Rain, you can actually run this thing as Focus Energy with Scope Lens and just start critting pretty much everything to death because of that sniper ability. So we're going to see how Kingdra is going to be ran by this team, and I feel just this thing in the Rain is beautiful. Nice little underrated dragon type to have just in the back of your pocket.
Yeah, and I think, just a note, after this was the final pick from the previous coach, every pick from this point forward was Wolf Glick picking the rest of the team. Unfortunately, like I said, we did have a coach leave the league mid-draft, and Wolf was awesome enough to take over, so he's got the Rain team rocking there. The Newcastle Nido Kings grabbing Hawlucha, which was on my radar. I really wanted to run Unburden Hawlucha with Grassy Terrain, but I went with Hitmonlee instead. But Hawlucha, very, very cool, very powerful fighting type Pokemon. Great flying type. I love the stab acrobatics with Unburden. You lose your item, you activate Unburden, you double your speed, and then you hit so hard with moves like acrobatics. Very cool. If you're creative, this Pokemon can be a huge threat.
I gotta say, I'm very happy that Flying Gem is not a thing because Flying Gem with Sky Attack was a little bit scary, but very nice Pokemon indeed with that Unburden and just lots of just offensive moves. Then a nice little substitute to bring out the Berry as well. You can run Citrus Berry with that, and it's quite beautiful in that way. But with the next pick, Drew and Mr. Talent is going to go ahead and take up Cresselia, which is everybody's favorite Pokemon, I bet. Cresselia is a monster. Obviously, it can do the things like Moonlight, which, you know, is very nice for recovery, Calm Mind, and, you know, it can just kind of sit there with Sub. It has Moonblast Psychic, and, you know, it gets Lunar Dance. It gets so many different things, and it just absolutely makes everybody so stressed out. I feel it's a little bit easier to handle these days, but with Finny around, I mean, hey, what are you going to try to use Toxic on this thing? I think having the Misty Terrain is going to be very nice.
Actually, I think you can Toxic because it's levitating.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure you can. I could be wrong.
Yeah, you
but,
can do that because it's not grounded. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but either way, Cresselia is fat. We got the John and the New Orleans Pelipers grabbing Miss Magius here in Tier 4. Very good Ghost type. I love the fact that it's got 105 base speed, pretty good special defense, pretty good special attack. Got some really cool options there. If you pair it with the right Z Crystal, it can be really awesome as well. But I love the fact that it can run like Trick Room. It's got Will-O-Wisp, so it's a really good Pokemon, and it gives him a little bit more speed to kind of sit between, you know, Haxorus, Weavile, and Tapu Koko. Kind of puts him right above there at 105, and Gallade to it, I think 115. But speed tiers are so important, guys, because if you have your speed tiers broken out, it makes prep for your opponent a lot harder because they have to maybe run Jolly instead of like Adamant, or, you know, Timid instead of, you know, instead of Modest or whatever. So the Atlanta Umbreon's coming in here with Magmortar as a Tier 4 pick. Magmortar, very good fire type Pokemon with good coverage, mostly known for just Fire Blast and things. A little slow, but has a pretty good special attack stat, and definitely one of the good mid-tier fire types.
Indeed, it also has Flame Body, so if anybody wants to hit on the physical stats, sure, you're going to do a lot of damage, but you are also risking getting, burned by that. Also, it does get Vile Spirits. If anybody wants to bring, you know, Mega Venusaur or like a Roserade or something else that can put the Pokemon to sleep, you got Vile Spirits, so you can't put it to sleep, and it's just a beautiful Pokemon, so much coverage, and you can pretty much pair up with any Z Crystal, and you can put in a lot of work. So I kind of want to see what Christian's going to take up because he has so many Pokemon with such good coverage. And speaking of Z Crystals, Kyle A and the Miami Dam fans are going to go ahead and take Fire MZ as their Z Crystals. So I can see that being pretty nice for things like Salazzle, Electros, even having the, you know, fire type coverage, and just saying what this thing can, you know, what he can do with Fire MZ in general. I'm actually, I don't know how this will work, but I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe he's got something else in mind that he's going to be drafting that can kind of take advantage of Fire MZ as well. At this point, it is a little weird seeing it, just being totally honest, with only Salazzle and Tyrantrum and Electros to take advantage of it. But I guess things like Crocodile could as well. You know, Crook maybe getting like Fire MZ, Fire Fang, and stuff like that. But he might have had something planned that we just don't know yet and wanted to grab it before anyone else did. But I can tell you, Z Sunny Day, It's pretty sweet. But I had to grab the meme tree here. Alolan Executor is on the squad, man. I needed the Dragon type. I needed the tier 4 again. I have my draft planned out at this point, so I know what I'm going for. And I love this thing. In grassy terrain, I love it. I love the fact that with Leaf Storm, it can be really powerful. I got plenty of ice resist on my team, which is pretty nice. That could really take those ice type moves. And I love it, Alolan Executor, man. I think it's going to be so much fun. I grabbed it for the memes, dude. I think it's going to be a good time.
The memes are real, but honestly, I think this is a very good pick for you. Like you said, in the grassy terrain, another thing to take on the earthquakes like the boss. And, you know, I just feel like this is a perfect opportunity to have some fun. And I feel this is a very fun Pokemon in general. And, hey, props to you, man. I'm glad that somebody took Alolan Executor in this league.
Another grass type going. Grass and Dragon. Wow, 2 in a row. Who would have thought? Steve in the Milwaukee Sawsbucks grabbing Mega Sceptile as his tier 3 Mega. Probably the best Mega to come out of tier 3. A little bit above kind of the rest in my opinion, but this gives him some extra free points to kind of round out his draft and maybe get something else like extra pretty powerful. But this thing's got a crazy special attack stat, really good speed stat at 145. Obviously does have that weakness to ice, but other than that, man, this thing really gives him something really, really fast. Forces his opponents to run some Choice Scarfers, and it hits pretty hard with Leaf Storm and Dragon Pulse. Not to mention it can be physically offensive as well with like Swords Dance.
Yeah, it just pretty much puts in the work. Like, you pretty much hit the hammer and everything in the head. It's a very nice Pokemon. I mean, he already has Shaman, so if he doesn't want to run Shaman 1 week and he wants to run full-out offense, then Mega Sceptile is going to be very nice. But sticking to full-out offense, the Bristol Blitzkins and the Game Boy Lick are going to pick up Sneasel, which is also a very fast Pokemon. I believe it's base 115 speed. It gets Ice Shard, Fake Out, just like a Weavile would. And, you know, it just puts in a lot of work just the way that Weavile would, except a little bit more frail. But I feel just having that knockup, having that nice little, you know, I believe this is a tier 4 pick. So, honestly, a nice little pick out of tier 4. And I feel like it can put in just a lot of work in general.
Yeah, it's, you know, an undeveloped Pokemon, but an offensive one at that. Having a good speed stat, and again, priority Ice Shard is really nice. Knockoff is really nice. Icicle Crash is really nice. It's a good Pokemon. It's definitely a pretty solid Pokemon that can put in some work, and a good value pick there here in round 9. We've got Trevenant, of course, the Ghost and Grass type. I prefer Gorgeist, but talk to us about Trevenant here, man.
Trevenant's a decent Pokemon. I've used Gorgeist in the past, so I wanted to try out something different and, you know, kind of throw a nice little curveball in there. Trevenant's a cool Pokemon. I needed a grass type, and lots of grass types have been taken recently, and I needed something that was also going to be Ghost type. I was thinking about possibly taking Golurk, but this actually will set up my next pick, which, you know, I'm not going to lie, I may have gotten started on my next pick, but it's a very nice Pokemon, though, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do. A nice little Harvest trick if you want to do that, and it's a Pokemon that I'm not too familiar with, so I decided, hey, why not try something new and try something more unique?
Yeah, I like it. Definitely pretty cool. Unfortunately, you cannot use Z Trick or Treat. Such a bummer. But we've got the Pittsburgh Pichus and Numb Nexus finishing out round 9 with Drapion. Drapion, of course, just like Alolan Muck, only 1 weakness to ground types. Very cool there. Good knockoff user. I love the fact that it can also use things like Toxic Spikes and so on and so forth. Definitely really digging the Drapion pick here.
You know, this was the this was the snipe pick. Drapion is a monster though, and it's just so nice to, you know, just have on the team. It can get that Swords Dance. It's a grounded poison type, so it can pretty much pick up the T-Spikes, and it's just a very, very strong Pokemon at that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with it. Although, like I said, I really wanted to use Drapion, and honestly, if I had known that he would take Drapion, I would have actually taken Delmise. So fun fact on that. But hey, I took Trevenant, and we're gonna rock and roll with that.
Yeah, so here we are, our round summary for round 9. Some really cool stuff being taken here. We see the Mega Evolution from Steve. I think I'm the only team without a Mega at this point in time, which also gives me some opportunities to hold out on it because no one else can take a Mega. But we got Hawlucha. I think that was a good pick. The Kingdra, I love that. Fire MZ, I think, was a bit of a weird pick, though, for the Don fan. Curious to see kind of how he goes about using Fire MZ on that team. And, you know, I got the best tree, so I'll take it.
I definitely like these picks, and I definitely like the Magmortar. The Magmortar definitely for Christian. Just his team is looking fierce and just dynamite, and I feel like he has so much coverage on his team. I'm really curious to see what he's going to pick as far as the Z Crystal goes. And as far as things go, I feel that was my favorite pick of this round. Of course, Kingdra is very nice as well for the Spirits because Kingdra been that rain, and just the fact that you can run it also as a focus energy set, it's just a beautiful Pokemon in general.
All right, so let's jump into round 10 here. Next is in the Pittsburgh Pichus, kicking us off with Tauros in Tier 5. Tauros, of course, a very fast 110 base speed Pokemon, good normal type. Gotta love the Intimidate and Sheer Force options. You can even run it with some special attacks, despite its crazy low special attack stat. With Sheer Force is actually not terrible, but it's a pretty decent Pokemon, and against unprepared teams, it can be a pretty valuable Tier 5 pick. And again, every team is required to fill out their specific tiers, so every team will have a Pokemon like a Tauros or like a Piloswine or whatever it may be. So pretty interesting stuff here, but I definitely like the way his team is coming along, and you cannot sleep on the Jirachi, Garchomp, and Florges core there. So we'll see how Numnex's team rounds up with 2 picks left as we are here in round 10. We've got Elliot and the Chicago Cub Shoes. You mentioned you couldn't get Drapion, so you went with the next best thing in Skuntank.
So, I've used Skuntank in the past, and you gotta love it, man. Buttercup is amazing. I love this thing a lot, and I actually did showcase it in my first ever league that I was in, which is the MPA Season 2. I was going against a Mega Latias, and I dropped a nice little punishment on it, and I think that was pretty much... I think that's still like the highlight of like my drafting career. I think this is a very nice Pokemon, and it can really do well against things like the Mega Latias, because it's quite defensive, and it's dark, and it can block out what it can do a lot, so... looking forward to using this thing, and you know, I really like the Nexus pick on the Tauros as well, I must say, the Sheer Force, and also you can actually bring up Gen 1 Tauros with Body Slam, so that's also a nice little other thing. But Luke is going to go ahead and take up Lucario over here, and Lucario is a very nice Pokemon, Tier 2, so kind of only a Tier 2 pick, but he decided to take it. He had enough points, and nobody else is really going to take it at this point, so a very nice steal at round 10, and a Pokemon that you can run on the physical side and the special side, has lots of coverage and priority, and I feel this is a very nice pick for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think being able to hit from both the physical and the special side is something that can be incredibly valuable. Mixed wall breakers are hard to find, and Lucario can do that. But what Lucario can do is it's got a lot of priority options. Vacuum Wave, Mach Punch, Bullet Punch, Extreme Speed, and setup options on both physical and special side. Swords Dance, Nasty Plot. That makes Lucario a very unique Pokemon. I don't know if there's a single Pokemon that can do all of that. Infernape probably being the next closest to being able to set up and use both sides like that. But the Milwaukee Sawsbuck's grabbing a third Grass type. I don't know if he's turning into a Grass type trainer, but I guess Sawsbuck is one. So he's got a Credilli here. Credilli, a rock and grass type with Stealth Rocks. I love the Storm Drain. Its ability to take on those water type moves is really cool. And it's just a really bulky Pokemon. It can be really difficult to take down.
I'm not sure too much about this pick. You know, in general, I think it's a very nice pick, but I feel he has too many grass types in his team at this point. But like you said, it can put up rocks. It's a very bulky Pokemon. It, you know, it's really tough to take down. It has very nice recovery, which, you know, things like Mega Sceptile couldn't do, and it's a little bit different from what his team is. So I think he needs more bulk, and I think this will make people kind of weary on what they really want to do. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what he's going to do. But either way, you're going to go ahead and take Grass CMC. I mean, it doesn't take Albert Einstein to figure out why, because you got Bulu, you got Alolan Exeggutor, and you got other Pokemon like Heatran that can use Z-Solar Beam. But why don't you tell us about Grass CMZ, Dan?
I think you covered it all. As soon as I picked Bulu Heatran, I knew I wanted Grass CMZ because Heatran Solar Beam is really good for breaking down water types, and Bulu with Grass CMZ frees up its move slot so you don't have to always run Choice Band. Z Woodhammer is one of the hardest things to switch into in grassy terrain there, and without my opponent being able to switch terrain, there's very few Pokemon in the format. Maybe less than probably 5 Pokemon that can switch into a Z Woodhammer and actually live effectively. So I just really love it. I love it pairing with Alolan Exeggutor as well. I think that's pretty cool. So definitely some options there. Miami Dawn fans and Kyle A grabbing Swellow. Swellow, of course, being buffed in Generation 7, getting a much higher special attack stat. Pairing that with Scrappy, its ability to run Boom Burst and Heat Wave. Maybe that's one of his ideas for Fire MZ with Heat Wave Swellow. But don't forget, this thing can be physically offensive with Guts as well. Brave Bird and U-Turn, things like that. Facade as well, like the Guts Flame Orb set. So I really like Swellow, and I think seeing it go in round 10 is pretty surprising considering in Tier 4, it's pretty much a steal.
It is very much a steal, like you said, at 25 damage. I mean, like, the special attack went up by 25 points. That's insane. The Boomers is going to do so much damage, and you don't know what kind of set he may run. I'm pretty sure he's going to want to soak up some status moves like Will-O-Wisp and whatnot and Toxic and just bring up that nice little beautiful Guts ability with that. But without further ado, finally we see the Z Crystal from Christian bring up the Steelium Z, and I'm not too surprised because of Kieran Black having the nice little Flash Cannon and whatnot, slash Iron Head if you want to run Iron Head. And, you know, if you really want to run Celesteal with the Steelium Z, that's cool too. Other than that, I don't see too much of use for it. But, you know, honestly, I feel this can help him out a lot, especially for Kieran Black having the Flash Cannon slash Iron Head ability.
Yeah, I think that'll help getting it through basically fairy-type Pokemon that otherwise would stop Kyurem Black. Definitely making it pretty scary. I'm surprised he didn't go ICMZ, but Steely MZ definitely pretty solid there, and you mentioned a few things that I compare with. So we'll see kind of how the Atlanta Umbreons use that to their advantage. But Kangaskhan here in Tier 5, going to be going for John and the New Orleans Pelipers. Kangaskhan, a pretty bulky, normal-type Pokemon with Fake Out and Sucker Punch. Gotta love that. Doesn't get its Mega Evolution, though, so he's going to just be rocking solo Kangaskhan here. But still a good Pokemon, decent bulk, and again, against the right team can be pretty useful.
Yeah, it's an interesting Pokemon for sure. I feel like he can definitely put in some work with it. Surprise some people with it as well. It gets nice little priority like you mentioned. And I don't know too much about regular Kangaskhan, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what John can do with this Pokemon in general. I feel he really needed a normal type on his team, and this will definitely do that for him. So let's see what kind of action John will do.
Yeah, I love that Scrappy ability too, allowing it to hit Ghost-type Pokemon with fighting and normal-type moves. We're going to see the Psychium Z going here for the New York Marauders. Try to see what he's trying to fit with this. I don't know what Z Lunar Dance does, but I'm assuming it might be pretty good.
Oh, I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get that Z Hypnosis with Circuitry, which is actually a very smart tactic. And I feel like he's definitely going to put in some work with that, as that can bring him up by +1. And whether it hits or not, I mean, if it hits and he goes for like a Tail Glow or he just starts hitting things hard, in general, this thing can definitely sweep. And Psychium Z with Z Hypnosis is definitely not going to be fun for anybody to go against at this point.
Yeah, I guess Z Lunar Dance does nothing, but he was definitely aiming for Z Hypnosis. You were right there. I had to check because I was like, maybe Z Lunar Dance is really cool, but I guess not. I guess Lunar Dance kind of does what Z... Yeah, anyway. Doesn't matter. We got the Newcastle Nidoking and Garbodor here. Very good Pokemon. I love the fact that Garbodor can set up hazards, both Toxic Spikes and Spikes, and it proves this to be a pretty solid, Poison-type Pokemon. It's pretty bulky, and it could definitely take some hits. I love running it with like a Rocky Helmet with Aftermath, but it's got decent coverage as well. Seed Bomb, Gunk Shot, what else is it? It gets some pretty crazy stuff, I'm pretty sure. Some kind of weird moves, that Drain Punch, things like that. So, pretty cool Pokemon. Definitely lots of hazards with Galvantula, Garbodor, of course. I definitely like it. Pairs nicely with the Seismitoad.
I feel it's a very underrated pick, and honestly, it's a Tier 5 Pokemon that it can put in a lot of work. It's just really good. It's a grounded poison type, so it can pick up the Toxic Spikes and put up its own. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with that. But now the first pick by Wolfglick himself decides to pick up another Pokemon for that insane rain team, and that is Ludicolo, which is just amazing in the rain. It can put in so much work. You can run this thing Life Orb in the rain, and it can just really put in lots of pressure against the opponent. And I feel just having that grass and water combination, a very, very nice typing, which I feel really needed. Aside from the Ferrothorn being grass and whatnot, this thing is very nice, and obviously fire isn't super effective against it, and having that rain again just is going to put in so much work for him.
This guy needs to watch out for Freeze Dry. Just saying. But either way, yeah, so this is the first pick, as you mentioned, that Wolf took. The rest of the team is previously drafted, but he embraced it, and from now it is Wolf's team. So I like the Ludicolo pick. But the Detroit Steel Wings grabbing one of the better Tier 5s in Rhydon. Rhydon, just a very bulky Pokemon with Eviolite, good Stealth Rock setter. And again, it does have a few big weaknesses like grass and water, but aside from those, it can be really difficult to take down. And it can also run Dual Dance with Rock Polish and Swords Dance, and actually prove to be a pretty good sweeper too. So you do have to be pretty careful there dealing with Rhydon. Very scary Pokemon. And who knows, maybe he'll even go offensive and pair it with Ground EMZ.
Yeah, Rhydon's a nice Pokemon indeed. It gets that nice little Eviolite, so it can become even more bulky than Rhyperior would. And definitely a nice pick for him. I feel he really needed something else to put up the hazards, and I feel it's never too bad of a thing to have more than one Stealth Rocker, so good for him.
Yeah, we see lots of Z-Crystals going here, 3 of them going. A couple really cool picks, too, seeing the Rain team getting added onto with Ludicolo. We see Lucario coming in here for Luke, a very good Tier 2. Everything else is pretty low tier, though. You see a lot of Tier 5s coming out, Tier 4s, as the teams kind of prioritize the higher tier mons early on, obviously, which is you would expect. But still 2 rounds to go, round 11 and round 12. And believe it or not, a lot can change in these last 2 rounds, believe it or not. Teams are looking to patch up holes, things that they were missing before, but I can tell you, like myself, I still have my Mega to pick, and I still have a Tier 2 to pick, so I have plenty of options left to bring that power. So I saved some of my power for the last, but I think let's jump into round 11 here. Crimson Seabad is going to be kicking us off here in round 11, and going with Raichu, regular Raichu in Tier 5. Raichu, of course, sports a 110 base speed and hits pretty hard, but its real versatility is in the ability to run like Volt Switch and Thunderbolt, Surf, Grass Knot, Nasty Plot. Can do a couple different things there, and it gives him a fast electric type. Again, kind of, saving some of the check boxes for the end here.
For sure, it's a nice electric type tier 5 at that, so he's gonna pretty much, I'm thinking he's trying to keep his last pick as a higher tier pick for that and trying to keep up his points for just when he wants to pick last. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Raichu, like you said, has lots of versatility and is actually a very hard-hitting Pokemon if you're running it to be modded special attack or timid special attack even. So pretty nice pick for him, and I feel that's very needed as he really didn't have much electric Pokemon in general. So there you go. And for the next pick of Wolfclay, he goes ahead and takes Guzzlord, which actually kind of surprised me. But looking at it from a different perspective, it's tier 5 for a nice little Ultra Beast. So whenever you think of it like that, this thing does get the Beast Boost. And although it's not the best Pokemon, I mean, you can run it in tons of different ways. It gets lots of different moves that you can take advantage of. It's a very, very fat Pokemon. And what do you think about Guzzlord?
I think in tier 5, it's definitely worth taking. It's got great HP. It's got a big coverage options, which is always important in league format. And again, in tier 5, I don't think you're losing anything, you know? When I think of a tier 5, I think of a Pokemon that I probably will only bring 3 or 4 times the entire season. And if you get a Pokemon like Guzzlord, which really can fill those slots, it can be really effective. So the Newcastle Needle Kings are going to actually grab a, apparently he filled in the wrong slot, but he's got Darkinium Z. He still has a free pick going on there, but Darkinium Z here for the Newcastle Needle Kings. And I really like how that pairs with Mega Latios. I think that's pretty obvious. He wanted to pair it with T-Tar. He wanted to pair it with Mega Latios and Memento. So those are really the key kind of uses there. Z Memento, of course, giving the stat drops in the opponent, but also healing whatever gets sent in as well. So pretty cool stuff there for the Nido King. So definitely pretty clear what his plan was.
Yeah, that nice little Z-Crunch, if you want to use that as well for Tyranitar, is pretty nice and can put in a lot of work. And my favorite Pokemon on this team has to be Freebie Name. That's my favorite one, honestly.
Yeah, Freebie Name, nice definitely one of the top Pokemon in the format. That was actually my wife's doing there. But we've got New York Marauders, Mr. Talent, the Talent Squad, picking up Perugly in tier 5. Gotta love Perugly. Fast Pokemon with knockoff, U-turn, fake out, decent normal stab, but definitely pretty frail. But one of those Pokemon that, you know, it's in tier 5, so you're gonna bring it a few times and it might have some pretty interesting impact there. So
Perugly is base 112 speed. That's all I have to say. This thing is so fast, and you know, it can surprise a lot of people. Whenever you're playing Pokemon Platinum, this thing came out of nowhere. I think Mars had it, and it just pretty much tried to destroy your team. It's really, really fast, really, really strong, and honestly, I cannot wait to see Mr. Talon use this thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of, you know, sets he's going to run with it. But either way, another Z-Crystal goes down by my man, John, a.k.a. Pokemon and New Orleans Pelipers, taking Electrium Z. So we're definitely seeing some Z-Crystals going out last but not least. And of course, you got to see the Tapu Kokos are bringing out the terrain and going to bring out just the tons and tons of electric power. Z Thunderbolt, or even if you want to run Z Thunder, it's going to be absolutely threatening. And what do you think about this pick?
I think this is really cool, pairing it obviously with Tapu Koko primarily, but also has some options to pair it with Nido Queen and Thunderbolt, and also Mega Gallade with Thunder Punch. So, you know, I think the ability for Mega Pokemon to carry either the Mega Stone or a Z Crystal has kind of made this draft pretty interesting. So it'll be curious to see whether John tries to surprise people with that Z Thunder Punch or something like that. We've got the Atlanta Umbreons grabbing Mudsdale here as one of his next picks. Mudsdale, a great ground type. Stamina is such a cool ability, and the fact that when it gets hit by an attack, it raises its defense, and really with an Assault Vest can be very difficult to take down.
Indeed, and this thing is just really powerful. I wish it got Stealth Rock, but either way, you know, like you said, it's just very nice with that stamina. It's very nice if you put a Assault Vest on it, because you don't really need to have much of status moves on it in general, and I feel it's just a nice Pokemon to soak up some physical hits with. And if you're going against a team that has lots of physical mons, you're gonna really put some you know, pressure on him, and it just hits really hard with Earthquake. So that's gonna be pretty cool to see. And with the next pick by the Miami Down fans, he takes Slowking. So we're kind of seeing the Fire EMZ come more into play. You know, with the Swallow pick last time with Heat Wave, and now Slowking with potential Fire Blast, and Z Fire Blast could be pretty nice on this thing in general. A very, very nice Pokemon in general. It's a very nice, specially offensive and defensive Pokemon. And it does have Regenerator, so he's going to have some Regenerator power going with Tangrowth and with Slowking. So very nice pick by Kyle over here, and a very big steal in round 11.
Yeah, I think Slowking's really solid. You mentioned the Regenerator Core, which can be so difficult for teams to break down. Without a proper wall breaker, Tangrowth, Slowking are going to work really well together. And Slowking, falling into tier 3, gives you kind of a budget Slowbro, and it's really not that much different than Slowbro. You know, obviously its stats are a little flopped around there, but still pretty good. And I have finally revealed my Mega Evolution. I'm going with Mega Absol to free up so I can grab a tier 2 as my last pick. But Mega Absol falling into tier 2 Megas, I thought was pretty valuable. I love its speed tier, hitting 115 really helped me out with my speed tiers. I love its magic bounce ability. I just love the fact that it's got great coverage from both the physical side and a special side. Knockoff, Sucker Punch. I love the Fire Blast. I love Superpower Play Rough. It gets a lot of options there, including some some support options like Will-O-Wisp. And I've lost to Mega Absol many times. I've dealt with this thing. I've seen it sweep me. And if it gets a Sword Stance up, very few things can take on Sucker Punch.
Also, it has some decent special attacks, so you gotta run that nice little Fire Blast / Flamethrower even, and it's just a very cool Pokemon in general. You can even run Thunderball in it, it can do some decent damage, so very nice over there, and very nicely done on that pick. With the next pick, Steve is going to go ahead and take up Alolan Dugtrio, which is a very interesting Pokemon. I feel he wanted to get more Steel going on his team, Cobalion being his only other Steel Pokemon. And I feel he wanted to try something new and take something that's kind of interesting, I believe in tier 5. So he takes up the Alolan Dugtrio over here. What do you think about Alolan Dugtrio?
I think Alolan Dugtrio is pretty darn awesome. And in fact, I'm just going to dig into my bag real quick because I happen to have an Alolan Dugtrio plushie. And I had to show it off. But Alolan Dugtrio, pretty interesting stuff here. And, you know, like we mentioned, falling into tier 5 could be pretty decent. It's got an okay speed stat. Obviously hits relatively hard with steel and ground type moves. And we'll see how he does it. Obviously doesn't have the same trapping abilities, but we'll see how Steve holds up there. Game Boy Luke, not surprising, grabs regular Rotom in tier 5, which is really solid, dude. You got to give some props for regular Rotom. Being Ghost and Electric type, being immune to ground type moves with its Levitate, being immune to fighting type moves and normal type moves, 3 immunities. Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, really awesome. Volt switching, I love the fact they can trick Choice Scarfs onto things. It's a cool Pokemon, man. I think it's a great pick in tier 5.
I feel it's very underrated in the fact that it's really, really fast too. I think it's way faster than the other Rotom forms. I believe like 9 speed points or something like that. So it is pretty nice. And like you mentioned, lots of different status options and a just nice little hard-hitting Pokemon. Pretty frail, but at the same exact time, it does resist lots of types and it can really, I guess, shapeshift what the opponent may bring, and plus may also just make them completely prepped for different ways. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Well, the next pick, we decided to take up Leavanny as our first tier 5 Pokemon, and Leavanny is a Pokemon that I've wanted to use for a while. Now, I know that it's weak times 4 to fire and flying, but it's very nice indeed, and I feel it's really cool because it can hit hard, but it also gets Sticky Webs, and Sticky Webs paired with things like Mega Medicham, even Exploud, Excadrill, it can just really put a lot of just pressure on the other side of the field. And in terms of things going, I believe I can pretty much just hazard stack at this point. So Leavanny is going to prove to be really nice for me.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I wonder what your last pick will be, Elliot. I wonder.
I don't know.
We're going to see the Pittsburgh Pichus grab Tangela in tier 5. Really good tier 5. Based on the Mega and his other picks, guys, certain teams with your free points are forced to pick different things based on value. So in this case, Nexus was kind of forced to pick another tier 5. Tangela is a really good one, though. Regenerator Eviolite, it lasts a lot longer than you'd expect. And one of the cool things that I like about Tangela over Tangrowth is the ability that it can run Sleep Powder with the extra bulk with Eviolite, whereas Tangrowth runs Assault Vest and can't run Sleep Powder. So I think that's really cool. Same with like Leech Seed and stuff. I think Tangela is a really good pick here, especially late round and just kind of filling up some holes that a team might have otherwise. But we're about to hit our last round of drafting as we just finished up round 11, guys. Couple little things for housekeeping. Guys, do me a favor, drop a follow on the Twitch stream, guys. I stream pretty much every single day. Please drop a follow if you're brand spanking new. But more importantly, check out the fan document, guys. Exclamation point WBE in the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, please check out the fan document in the description below and bookmark it so you have everything you need to know. We've got the schedule there. We've got the draft tiers, so if you want to look at the tiers and see what's going on there, if you want to use it for your own league, go for it. You've got all the teams, their information. Go check out all the coaches. Please go subscribe to everyone. Follow everyone on Twitter. Go for it. Please show some love to all the amazing coaches, guys. We really focus on getting together 12 awesome YouTubers who do more than just battle, who do more than just post videos on YouTube. They're entertainers, and I think that that's the focus of the league in general. World Battle Entertainment. We're trying to bring you guys some fun, entertaining Pokemon battles over the next couple months. So hopefully you guys are excited. Rounding out round 11 here. Pretty cool stuff. I love the Rotom pick. I was the last person to grab a Mega Evolution and Mega Absol. So many Megas went undrafted, which is pretty crazy to think about, but it's how teams wanted to kind of fit things out here. Let's look at some of these Megas that went undrafted. Mega Altaria, Mega Gyarados, Mega Pinsir, and Sableye. All those went undrafted. Mega Beedrill, Mega Heracross, Sharpedo, and Slowbro. All those Megas went undrafted, but with only 12 teams, something's got to be sitting there left. The Charizards, of course, sitting there, things like that. But we have our final round of picks coming up, guys. Again, get excited. Let's see how these teams finish up. Round 12 starts right now with Numb Nexus. And the Pittsburgh Pichus grabbing a Dragonium Z to pair with his Garchomp, of course. Garchomp with Dragonium Z is so scary. Draco Meteors or Outrages, making him just a huge nuke. I don't really see too much else to pair it with, except for maybe like regular Blastoise with Dragon Pulse, which I don't think really makes a lot of sense. But that's Garchomp with Dragon Z is good enough. That's for sure.
Indeed, and if you really feel ambitious enough, you can always run that Dragonium Z Outrage on Tauros, which actually can get it. So lots of different options that you can propose for, and I feel it's mainly for Garchomp, I would say. But we're going to see what kind of nukes you can drop with Dracos and Outrages and everything like that. And there are a lot of teams that actually have all of their Pokemon drafted, but have yet to draft the Z Crystals. So this round will be very, very interesting to see. But of course, who would have guessed I would take Gigalith? I don't know who would, but I decided to, you know, keep it there on the board until the last pick. If anybody wanted to take it, by all means, they can help me out if I go against them or not bring it at all. And I do have that Z Sandstorm in case I wouldn't take it, but I really wanted to take Gigalith. It's a really nice Pokemon, and we decided on our last bit to take it, obviously for, you know, reasons like getting the Sandstorm up, and 8 turns if I get put on the Smooth Rock. Escudero could take advantage of it with the Sand Rush, and just in general, I feel it can really, really, really help me out. And just having that, also for Gigalith's sake, the special defense boost in the sand, I think that's really nice in general. So definitely happy with that pick.
Yeah, Gigalith's a great Pokemon, man. So the fact that you're able to get Excadrill round 1 and then Gigalith in the last round, really cool planning there. We're going to see Game Boy Luke grab the Fightinium Z, pairing nicely with his Lucario primarily. Mew does get some fighting type moves. And what else we got here? What else could it work with? That's the gist of it. Maybe Close Combat Arcanine, maybe Low Kick Sneasel. But generally speaking, you're going to see the Fightinium Z really working with his Lucario and maybe the Mew. But I'm surprised he didn't go Munium Z, man. Munium Z, of course, giving him a very powerful Psychic-type move, and then setting up Psychic Terrain, which is pretty cool. But he went with Fightinium Z, so that was the decision he went with. But very cool team. I do love Luke's team here. Mega Venusaur on any team is going to be awesome. But Mega Venusaur paired with, like, Arcanine, Jellicent. Love the Mew pick. Love Zapdos. I think that's going to be really neat. So, Milwaukee Sawsbucks grabbing Waterium Z as his final pick here. And I think he's going to try to pair that with his Manaphy. What do you think, Elliot?
Definitely the Z Rain Dance is there, and, you know, again, that +1 speed, possible rest, hydration, you know, just so many possible ways that he can pretty much just destroy teams with, and I feel, you know, his team is insane. Waterium Z doesn't really seem to work with too many of his other Pokemon, as a lot of them, you know, don't really have much water coverage, so it's definitely for the Manaphy. Doesn't really take a genius to figure that one out. Z Rain Dance is going to be beautiful, and just boosting that with the Scald and the speed, Steve has a very, very strong team.
Yeah, you know, Waterium Z, Manaphy, so good. Tailglow Manaphy, so good. And just the fact that you have to deal with both of those every week is pretty scary. I went with my last pick here, and I'm actually really excited with this pick. I think Nihilego is super underrated, and it's such a good Pokemon. It's got incredible HP, incredible special defense, good special attack stat, 103 base speed, which really helps my speed tiers. I love the Stealth Rocks and Toxic Spikes options, and I love the fact that it's got Beast Boost, which can really steamroll with its speed or its special attack stat. I think this is great, man. It provides me a really good Fairy Killer for Mega Absol. I've never been a big fan of its design, but I think from a stat perspective, and the rock spam, that's 100% accurate. I think this is going to be a really good pick, and I think Nihilego is going to be really awesome this season.
In round 12, this man takes Nihilego rounding out of this team, and I think that's a beautiful pick. And like you said, it really does, you know, just have nice synergy with the rest of the team. So good pick on that part. And last but not least for Kyle A, he takes Lancern as his last pick. A personal favorite of mine. It gets Heal Bell, T-Wave. You can run Toxic on it. It gets Volt Switch, so a nice little slow Volt Switch at that. Ice Beam. It gets, you know, lots of coverage in general, and I feel it's going to be very, very nice. Doesn't really have about the Fire EMZ, but I feel like he really did a good job on getting Fire EMZ to work out with Slow King and, you know, Swellow on those last few picks. And I feel this is going to be very nice for him to just kind of round out his team. He doesn't really have too many water/electric types going for him, so this will really help him out on that kind of aspect, especially in the electric side of things. And yeah, good on him.
I love its two immunities, Water Absorb and Volt Absorb. Really cool. You could pair it, stop Volt Switchers. You can stop Scald Spam. Such a good value pick in Tier 5. I think the Don fans did really well there. The Atlanta Umbreon's going with Electabuzz. That is the funniest Electabuzz picture. The Dream World art is ridiculous sometimes, but Electabuzz has some pretty interesting hair going on there. But solid pick there in Tier 5, of course. Good, fast electric type. A little bit faster than Electivire, which is kind of nice. Electivire, I think we put in Tier 4 maybe. So the extra speed there can definitely help it out.
Definitely a nice pick in Tier 5. I would say that they should both be in the same tier, you know, at that point, but the Buzz looking pretty nice over here. Again, people just trying to round out some typings that they didn't really have in the first place, and definitely nice for Christian over here, as he didn't really have much electric types going for him. So the Buzz can be nice, hit hard, and it can really be fast for him and put in the work. So his team is looking beautiful, and I think that's really nice. And one of the more underrated Pokemon goes as the last pick for John, aka Pokemon for the New Orleans developers. The Liepard is taken as the last pick. So I don't know, the Pyro, my bad, not Liepard. Pyro is taken as the last pick. Very nice Pokemon. Gets Higher Voice, gets Fire Blast, gets Dark Pulse, and you know, you can even use Wild Charge on it. So if he wants to run Electrium Z with Wild Charge, that should be pretty cool. So really nice pick over here, and a very nice wall breaker at that.
Yeah, I love, like, it's got Moxie too as an ability, so you can use it physically offensive. It's not as good, but could be good. Could be good against a water type that's not expecting a Z Wild Charge or something like that, as you mentioned. So Pyroar here in Tier 5 as his last free pick. But the New York Marauders picking up their last Pokemon. It's going to be Floatzel. Floatzel, I've seen this thing put in some work. I've seen, like, bulk up Floatzels put in some work. Definitely got to love it. Got to love the priority with Aqua Jet. Hits pretty hard with, like, Waterfall and Ice Punch and stuff like that. It's just a decent Pokemon overall.
Very decent, and you can also use setup moves on it to get that nice little attack boosted. You can run like Agility on it, I believe, or even get speed passed onto it. So, you know, pretty nice pick over here as his last pick. Floatzel is just a nice little guaranteed water type to have alongside Type Affinity if he wants to run it 1 week. And definitely nice to just have in general, a very underrated Pokemon. And I've seen it used in Draft League, and I've seen it be a very underrated Pokemon. I believe Miguel, whenever he used to battle, used it very nicely. So a very nice pick over there.
Yeah, for sure. The final pick for the Newcastle Nidoking and Patters is going to be Stoutland. What do you think about this Stoutland pick, man?
Definitely goes nice with this sand. I mean, this is another sand team to mine, so it should be pretty interesting to see how our teams duel. And Stoutland is definitely a good Pokemon. If you run that with Sand Rush, it can really poke holes. You can run it Adamant and just has nice coverage boost in general. So I feel this is a very nice pick for him. And, you know, he doesn't really have much normal coverage in general. So definitely going to pretty much work out for him in general.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got, we're wrapping up here with the last couple picks. Gotta love the Sand Rush Stoutland there paired up with the Tyranitar. Gotta give some props to that, but let's see what we got here. We got the Slateport Spirits grabbing Sliggoo. Sliggoo is going to be Wolf Glick's final pick here. Obviously with Hydration, pretty cool in Rain as a Tier 5. Gotta love that. Can't be status. Very bulky with EV It's got great special defense, so I definitely like that. But very cool Rain team here. It seems like usually in a draft, one team will commit to Rain like Wolf's team did here, and a lot of times they can be a little bit better than your average team, just because Mons like Ferrothorn and stuff just work so much better with this. Like a Mon like Kingdra and Rain is so much more valuable than a Tier 3, but it has to be paired with the rest of the Pokemon. So we'll see if Wolf can make a Rain team the standard in Draft League format, because he's definitely got some pretty scary stuff going on here. But to wrap up WBE Season 1 draft, the Detroit Steelwings are going to grab Meganium here. Meganium is going to be his final pick, and that is going to wrap up our WBE draft, guys. Meganium will be the final pick for the Detroit Steelwings. I believe, as long as I haven't messed up, I just updated the document with the fan document with all the picks, guys. So if you want to check out the fan document, every pick is up there with the teams. There's some formatting issues that have happened, but for the general purposes, you can see every team there with all their picks and what they're rocking with. The schedule is there as well, guys. I highly recommend you check out the schedule and the fan document, !WBE in the chat. in the description, of course, on the YouTube video afterwards. Pretty much every coach that I know of in the league, all 12 of us are going to be uploading draft analysis. Most of us will have our draft analysis up in the next 2 hours or so. So definitely keep an eye out on everyone's channel. Please go check out, guys. I'm encouraging you so much. Check out the fan document. There's a tab with all the coaches' names, all the teams, everyone's Twitter, and everyone's YouTube. Please go drop everyone a follow on Twitter and a subscription on YouTube. It's only 12 teams. Show them some love, man. We got some amazing people here. If you're new to the stream, definitely drop a follow, guys. I stream here pretty much every single day. Big shout out to my man Galactic Elliott, coach of the Chicago Cubs Shoes, for joining us here. I think we were a pretty good team, man. Thanks for joining us on the call, dude.
Thank you for having me. And guys in the chat, make sure to let us know which team you're rooting for right now. Get some hype going for WBE. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me, Dan. And I'm really looking forward to getting this league started. When will week 1 be, though? I'm pretty sure will be the common question.
Yeah, week 1, as you guys can see from the schedule, will be starting September 10th. It's going to be the first week of matches. The St. Louis Rampardos are taking on the Detroit Steel Wings. The Atlanta Umbreons are taking on the Slateport Spirits. The New York Marauders will be taking on the New Orleans Pelipers. The Game Boy Luke and the Blazekins are going to be taking on Elliott and the Cub Shoes. Miami Don fans will be taking on the Pittsburgh Peaches. The Newcastle Needle Kings will be taking on the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. And again, the schedule is all there for your eyes to see. We've got the teams all there for your eyes to see. We've got the tiering and how the draft works if you guys want to use that for your own league, so on and so forth. Everything is there, guys. Show some love. Bookmark the fan public document. We will make sure we update it as transactions and things like that happen. And again, please go check out everyone's channel. Show some love. Drop them a follow on Twitter. Drop them a sub on YouTube. Tweet at them. Tell them how much you love their team. Get excited. Let me know in the chat right now, what team are you rooting for? What teams are you rooting for WBE Season 1? Remember, guys, this is all about having fun. It's all about having a good time and getting some of the best YouTubers together to battle it out in some awesome, entertaining battles. I do have to ask that when the season starts, try to keep things positive, root on your favorite coaches, and just remember that this is all for fun. We're just trying to have a good time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big special thanks to my wife, Danny, for helping us with the graphics, Wise Digital Designs as well. Thank you to the NPA for hooking us up with some graphics as well. Big shouts to all the coaches for putting the draft stream together. GlitchX City for the music as always. Sydney, Princess Pipsqueak for helping us out behind the scenes. And thank you to you guys, the fans of the WBE and the fans of us, all the coaches. You guys are absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for watching our draft stream. I'm excited for the battles to start next week on September 10th on each person's respective YouTube channels. Again, be sure to follow everyone on Twitter, subscribe to their channels, and get excited for their draft analysis videos. For myself, the St. Louis Rampardos, my name is Dan. I also go by aDrive. For Galactic Elliott as well, and the rest of the coaches in WBE, thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.